You're watching TBPN.
Today's Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. Just a few days until Christmas. We're so excited. We're live from the TBPN Ultradome, the Temple of Technology, the Fortress of Finance, the capital of capital. No travel until Christmas, baby. No travel until the new year. We're in the Ultradome, hanging out. We're monitoring the situation. We're monitoring the Paramount, Netflix, Warner Brothers situation, because this is one of the most fascinating deals. The deal has gone hostile. Paramount has launched a hostile bid to acquire Warner Brothers. It's an all-cash offer, $77.9 billion. Really. And it's a fun one because I feel like it's obviously tech adjacent, but it's not the story that people have been monitoring all year. We've been talking about foundation models. That whole story has just gotten a little bit stagnant.
Legacy media said they got tired of not getting enough attention.
Exactly.
So let's spice it up a little bit.
Let's spice it up. Here's something new to learn about. So everyone's having fun. Everyone's learning new things. And I could tell because when I came in today, I had a bunch of questions that people were throwing at me about how all of this works. Why isn't Warner Brothers just going with the highest price? Like when I sell a stock, I don't care if Citadel or Jane Street's buying it. Like if I'm selling $80 a stock, just give me the best price. But when you're selling an $80 billion company, there are other considerations, and it goes beyond just maximizing shareholder value. And so I wanted to break down a few of those, so I did that in today's newsletter. We can run through that, and then we can run through some of the news.
Perfect.
But first, let me tell you about Ramp. Time is money. Save both. Easy to use corporate cards, bill payments, accounting, and a whole lot more, all in one place. So this question, it seems obvious. The board has a fiduciary duty to maximize shareholder value. That's legal requirement to take the higher offer. And yet, that's not what's happening. Like yesterday, we saw that Ellison and Paramount came in with over $100 billion. Of course, that included the CNN, the TV assets. But even when you broke it out, it seemed like it was very clear that Ellison was willing to pay more money and make a higher offer. So under what circumstances can a board whose job it is to maximize shareholder value not take the higher offer? It can't just be whoever we had the better dinner with, right? Which is part of the news, of course. They went out to dinner, and Paramount CEO David Ellison sent a text to David Zaslav, who's running Warner Brothers, after they made a hostile bid today to buy Warner Brothers. And David texts the other David and says, David, but I guess he misspelled his name, even though that's his name, which is just funny. But anyway, he says, I appreciate you're underwater today, so I wanted to send you a quick text. Know that despite the noise of the last 24 hours, I have nothing but respect and admiration for you and the company. It would be the honor of a lifetime to be your partner and to work and to be the owner of these iconic assets. He's talking about Foghorn Leghorn. He's talking about Porky Pig. He's also talking about Batman and Superman, obviously, and Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and a million other iconic assets, which is true. If we have the privilege to work together, you will see that my father and I are the people you had dinner with, which I like that. I think that's cool. They had dinner.
It's a fantastic text.
Yes. It's a great one. Quickly, let me tell you about Julius AI. The AI data analyst that works for you. Join millions who use Julius to connect their data, ask questions, and get insights in seconds. There are two main reasons why you don't just why your size might not be size. Directors at a company like Warner Brothers, they have to maximize shareholder value, but maximizing shareholder value is an expected value calculation. So if you come in with a $100 billion offer, and I think there's a 75% chance that you're going to deliver that, and someone else comes in with an $80 billion offer, and I think there's a 100% chance that they're going to deliver that, well, the expected value of your bid is $75 billion. The expected value of their bid is $80 billion. I go with the $80 billion, even though it's like a lower headline number. It has a higher expected value.
How much of the calculus do you think is just a deal that will actually get done, right? A deal that is going to get...
So a deal that doesn't get done could still have value because of a breakup fee. So you could in theory go into a deal that is impossible. And the example that I gave is what if ByteDance came in and they were like, hey, we're a $400 billion media company.
We'd love to own Porky Pig.
We'd love to own these iconic assets. Let's pick up Warner Brothers. We'd love to own CNN too. Who knows what we'd put on the TV?
We already own TikTok.
Why not CNN also? Why not Shark Week?
No, not Shark Week.
Not Shark
They'd
Week.
have to carve out Shark Week in my book.
But obviously, the government would block that, and we have CFIUS, which is an organization in the U.S. government that determines whether or not an international buyer can take an American company because of intellectual property, all sorts of geopolitical considerations. We don't want another country cornering a market on a really key piece of the supply chain, like the NVIDIA H200, for example, which we might be talking about later in the show with Aaron Ginn, co-founder of H200s. Repeat guest on the TBPN show. But then there's also just the FTC. So certain deals, like I gave you the example yesterday, like Disney would be like so blocked, I think, that deal doesn't even get kicked around. Like no one even talks about it. And because it would get blocked by the FTC. So it doesn't even happen, but it would maximize shareholder value if Disney came and said, yeah, we'll give you a $10 billion breakup fee and we want to try and buy you for $200 billion or $1 trillion or $200 million. Like you would immediately say yes because you just want the breakup fee. But being in this turmoil and being in this limbo and not being able to sign deals with that has an opportunity cost, right? Yeah. And so you might want to back off of that. And so basically
look, you look back at the Figma acquisition. Yep. Adobe paid a $1 billion breakup fee. So that's effectively like non-dilutive financing for Figma. That has a happy ending because they were able to, reaccelerate, get out into the public markets. But there was another situation where they went through a rough patch and actually really needed that capital to get through.
Yeah. So there's basically two buckets of risk that I think most deal makers would be considering in this situation. First is financing risk. So will they come through with the money, and what money are they paying with? Because the initial offer, this is the history. There's actually been 6 offers put forward by Paramount. David Ellison is putting on a clinic of just not taking no for an answer. Because all the way back on September 14th, he offered $19 a share, and 60% of that was cash. So 60% cash offer. Then September 30th, 2 weeks later, he comes back, $22 a share, and ups the amount of cash to 66.7%.
Zaslav is doing a masterclass in making your opponent negotiate against themselves.
100%.
It's actually crazy.
And so October 3rd, $23.50 a share, 80% cash. Then November 20th, $25.50 a share, 85% cash. Then finally December 1st, $26.50 per share, 100% cash. December 4th, $30 a share, 100% cash. Now, why does this matter? Well, it's because you get locked into owning the shares of, if 40% of the shares is Paramount, and then while it's closing, the stock trades down, you wind up getting less value. And so the $80 billion today might wind up being $70 billion later. And that doesn't maximize shareholder value. And so there's also just the question of like, can you actually marshal the cash? Just like if somebody comes to you and you're about to sell your house to them and they say, yeah, I'm definitely going to get a loan for this. Well, that's a financing risk. Maybe they don't. Maybe they back out of the deal.
That's why cash offers oftentimes.
Exactly. If you can just prove that you have the cash, that makes a difference. And I mean, he's effectively gone and done that because he's teamed up with Jared Kushner reportedly and gone around the world, got a whole bunch of different sovereign funds and just really people, anyone with big deep pockets has kind of, said, yes, I'm down to come along on this ride and put up a bunch of the capital. The capital has been marshaled. It seems like it's ready to go. And then also you have Larry Ellison, who has 3 times as much money, I think, than the whole deal value, something like that, $275 billion to his name. And he's only trying to put together
not cash.
Assets, not cash. But
he should not just, I know they want it, but do not market sell your Oracle position, please.
Yeah, but he's like, I'm actually going all cash now. But he's effectively acted as backstop. And so everyone who's come in and said, okay, I guess I'm good for 10 billion of that 80 billion, but only if everyone else is in. Larry Ellison reportedly has come in and said, well, if there's one person in the bunch that backs out of their slug at the last second, I'll jump in and get that. He's not saying he's going to put up the whole 80. He's just saying he's backstopping it.
Yeah.
And that's the term that's been thrown around. So David Ellison feels very, good because he's done what Zaslav wanted him to. He said, hey, they wanted an all-cash offer. I brought them an all-cash offer. I brought them an offer that's higher. And we believe that it's there's no reason why factor number 2 should come into play, and factor number 2 is regulatory approval. And so there's been this question about, will Netflix get approved? If there was a different buyer, it would have even more regulatory risk. And so you don't want to, even if the price is higher, you don't want to accept a higher price with a lower chance of actual conversion, right?
Bobby thinks NLE Choppa might up his offer to $100K of cash and get back in the mix.
In that scenario, at least you know that the $100K cash is real and it's going to be delivered on the day of close.
Maybe in actual cash, too.
Probably. I think that was that is funny because that was the joke of that meme, was that he was giving like actual cash. When we're saying cash offer here, of course, we are not talking about physical cash.
Hey, you never know.
Are you doing a money spread over there?
Yeah.
Is Tyler doing money spread? What does he got? Did Christmas come early for you?
So I had a question, though. What makes the Paramount offer like hostile? Is it that it's like reacting to the Netflix offer?
It's that the Netflix board the Warner Brothers board went with Netflix, and they're coming. It's hostile because they're saying, screw the board decision. We want to go to the shareholders.
Okay, yeah, because it sounded like they had a nice dinner and the texts were like kind.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Hostile.
No. Hostile in the sense of like not accepting the final the final decision there, and then also there is a point where you can appeal directly to the shareholders and you can actually make the legal case that the board is not acting in their fiduciary duty and in the interest of shareholders because. But again, these things need to be argued in shareholder lawsuits because it is fuzzy. Because, like, if I say I'm offering you $100 billion and someone else is offering $80 billion, and the board says, yeah, but that $100 billion has only a 75% chance of going through, you have to discount that. Now the board says it's worth 75, but whoever made that offer can say, no, we're actually good for it. You should apply a 10% discount rate and treat our offer as if it's 90% or 100% good, right? And so all of those arguments, those can be made in the court, and the shareholders can react to that. And if the shareholders align and say, yeah, actually, we think we'd be getting more money here with this deal, then they can push back against the board at a certain point. But yeah,
friend of the show, high-powered media exec says Zaslav has been architecting this situation for the last 12 months, sitting pretty, and he's a wily old fox and has what he has been shooting for. 2 heavy hitters fighting over a deal. Don't doubt there will be a couple more turns here with the price or even another bidder coming in sideways. Don't quote me.
Which is remarkable because the price is so high already compared to where it was 6 months ago. Zaslav, it really feels like it's coming together that he will be remembered as like an incredible business executive for this deal. I want to know more. I'm still learning about this particular industry, and so I've been having fun digging in. But
possible deal guy of the year.
Possible
he's in the
deal
conversation.
He's definitely in the.
Sam looked like he was running away with it over the summer.
That's true.
Early fall, and he lost ball control.
He lost ball control, yeah. Well, quickly, let me tell you about Fin.ai, the #1 AI agent for customer service. Automate the most complex customer service queries on every channel. But there is a wrinkle that people haven't really been considering, which is the fact that Warner Brothers Discovery holds a massive, often underrated vault of masculine cinema. And if this falls into the wrong hands,
what is masculine cinema?
masculine cinema would be
being dudes on film.
So they own a bunch of Clint Eastwood films: Dirty Harry, Magnum Force, The Enforcer, Heartbreak Ridge, American Sniper, Letters from Iwo Jima, Unforgiven, Gran Torino. They also own the classic Steven Seagal run. Basically every movie where Steven Seagal was a massive theatrical star before going to direct-to-video. We're talking about Above the Law, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, Out for Justice, Under Siege, which is Die Hard on a Boat, Under Siege 2, On Deadly Ground, Fire Down Below, Exit Wounds. They also own Rambo, the whole Sylvester Stallone, the Cobra Wing, Cobra, Demolition Man, The Specialist, Tango and Cash, Bullet to the Head, Get Carter, the 2000 remake. They also own Mad Max, Lethal Weapons, All of the lethal weapons. The Matrix, Blade, Mortal Kombat, 300, Rush Hour, Pacific Rim, and a number of dad and military shows, Band of Brothers, The Pacific, Generation Kill. There's a whole host.
They should release the full DVD set just called Guys Being Dudes.
Yes, they also own some Jason Statham properties. The Meg franchise, where Jason Statham fights a big shark.
Whoa.
Wrath of Man. I guess most of the Guy Ritchie films are actually with Lionsgate or MGM, but there are a variety, and I think this could be a big political hot button of what happens to the Rambo franchises, the Hollywood hunks. No one's talking about the Hollywood hunks. Everyone's focused on the Looney Tunes characters, but if the Hollywood hunks fall into the wrong hands, it could be it could swing our entire culture potentially. Anyway. Let me tell you about Vanta.
Apparently, Michael on our team worked on Wrath of Man.
Oh, really? No way.
First job.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Vanta, automate compliance and security, AI that powers everything from evidence collection and continuous monitoring to security reviews and vendor risks. You're hiding inordinate amounts of Middle Eastern funding sources in your takeover bid, are you not? Says Boring Business. And not hiding it, it's out in the open. Like this is like the playbook for these big deals.
It's double that of the amount of equity that the Ellisons are putting in.
Okay.
Putting in around.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone assumes that there'd be a lot of Middle Eastern funding in this. That has become the standard funding instrument these days. I don't know. Like EA Games, we just followed that story a little bit. That was obviously
it's like 93%
Saudi money, and that is part of the modern deal-making playbook these days. I'm pretty sure a lot of venture funds have raised money over there. A lot of the big AI companies have raised money over there. Like that seems like a foregone conclusion that if you need money, you go where the money is. Why do bank robbers rob banks? Because that's where the money is, right? Well, Dylan Byers says, David, I appreciate you're underwater today, so sent you a quick text. He's talking about the dinner. So that was the misspelling, DAIVD. He must have been texting very quickly. It does give you a little bit of flavor.
Let's turn this into a copy pasta.
Yes, I enjoyed the dinner. So Exec Sum has an overview of who's actually putting in the money here. Filings reveal that Paramount's bid for Warner Brothers is backed by equity commitments, including $11.8 billion from the Ellison family, $24 billion from Saudi Arabia's, Qatar's, and Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth funds, $1 billion from China's Tencent, additional commitments from Redbird Capital Partners and Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners. That doesn't add up to $100 billion. So there's must be cash coming from somewhere else. This is maybe there needs to be some more reporting until. They did give an updated version of this post, but it doesn't quite add up. So will be interesting to follow where how the deal comes together.
And we have a few more people joining this week to help us break down the deal. Ben Smith from Semaphore tomorrow, and then Dylan Byers.
Oh, Dylan's coming on?
Puck on Thursday in person.
I'm excited. Oh, he's coming in person. Yes, that's great. Well, let me tell you about Numeral. Compliance handled. Numeral worries about sales tax and VAT compliance, so you can focus on growth. Trump says that the United States will allow NVIDIA H200 chip sales to China and get a 25% cut. This is a pretty big change. I mean, we were talking about not selling. I mean, I guess it's not Blackwell, right? It's Hopper. So we're still a generation behind. But was this, it was like a pretty nerfed chip before. We're getting less nerfed. We seem to be moving in a more thumbs up direction, more let's actually get the chips over to China. At the same time, AI is fake, so it doesn't matter, right? That's the take. the pro China take is that it's like
SAS.
It's SAS, or it's not. It's not like this nuclear bomb that's going to destroy everyone. So it's harder. It's getting harder to make the Manhattan Project argument, right?
And it feels impossible to make the argument that we're going to get them addicted to the U.S. AI supply chain, and they'll never develop their own capabilities, and so we want them.
Oh, I disagree with that. I think that argument actually holds. That argument holds for sure. If we can...
in the next, I mean, I totally disagree.
Okay.
I think they're I think China's smart enough to know they don't want to be dependent on any foreign country to produce any.
Yes, but I still think there's enough of like a market force within China that if we flood the market with cheap NVIDIA chips, like it'll just be expensive for them to keep propping up their local industry, even if they are aware of it, even if they know that they have to. It's a cost, and it's something that a lot of AI researchers over there will just say, you know what, it's so much easier. The NVIDIA ecosystem is so great. I'm just going to stick with that. I don't know. I'm a little bit skeptical that like there's no advantage to selling NVIDIA chips there. I've become more receptive to that argument, particularly, even though you have not. But that's fine. Tyler, what were you going to say about this?
Yeah, I was just going to say. I mean, we kind of joke about this.
Yeah.
But it is kind of crazy the extent to which you can basically bake down all like AI policy questions to like if you are AGI pilled.
Yeah.
Because like
totally.
if you're Dario.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't be giving stuff to China.
Well,
you also shouldn't. Like if you are AGI pilled, you should be thinking about safety. All these things. Like we had Keith Roboy on.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem super AGI pilled. He's also like, oh, safety is a hoax, et cetera, stuff like this. I think basically all of these questions you can just,
Well, it depends, because if you're super fast takeoff pilled and you're super like ASI, it's like, but you think that it can somehow be contained and whoever gets it first, you actually don't mind if China's 6 months behind you, because as soon as you hit that inflection point, you're 1,000 years ahead. And so you might as well just do whatever it takes, fund whatever, make as much money as possible, as long as it accelerates you to be the first one to hit that inflection point. So there is an argument where you can be extremely AGI pilled, even super intelligent.
Well, Truth Social is creating a prediction markets product within the app.
I thought you were going to say AI product. Did they launch an AI thing last week?
I think that was fake news.
Oh, that was fake. Okay.
But it's possible Trump is going to use the prediction markets on Truth Social in order to kind of set AI policy going forward. Say H200s to China, good or bad?
That's wild.
I mean, that's not that, like, Robin Hanson says that's like a good idea.
That was the whole pitch originally.
Like there is definitely a bull case, you could say, like a steel man for that.
Yeah.
There's always the steel man.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically...
Where's your helmet, John?
yeah. Need to put on the helmet. Well, let's read through this Wall Street Journal article on the details of the new NVIDIA deal. But first, let me tell you about Figma. Think bigger, build faster. Figma helps design and development teams build great products together. So...
notable that this seems to have been completely priced in already, because NVIDIA is actually down half a point today.
Yes, it's been such a dramatic story all year, and yet it's always felt like a complete footnote in the overall financial performance of NVIDIA. It's never felt like, okay, yeah, if this goes NVIDIA's way, they're going to double their revenue or double their profits, or like, really move the needle. They're growing so fast that, I don't know how many, we're going to get into figuring out how many H200s they sell, but they would need to sell a lot to actually move the needle on this behemoth of a business, what is the world's largest company in the world. So President Trump said he would let NVIDIA export its H200 chip to China and that the U.S. would receive a 25% cut, his latest bid to make money for the government in an unusual agreement with a private company. I have informed President Xi Jinping of China that the United States will allow NVIDIA to ship H200 products to approved customers in China and other countries under conditions that allow for strong national security. 25% will be paid to the U.S. of A. The move is a boon for NVIDIA, which has fought for months to maintain access to the world's second largest economy. The company had agreed earlier this year to give the U.S. 15% of China's sales from a lower performing chip, only for the Chinese to scuttle those plans as part of continuing trade talks between the two sides. Chips from the world's most valuable company have become a prized geopolitical tool. The H200 has higher performance than the H20 that NVIDIA was previously allowed to sell, but this isn't as powerful as the company's top Blackwell products released this year, nor the Rubin generation chips generation of chips coming next year. The move follows a meeting between Trump and Jensen Huang last week, where the pair discussed H200 exports. People familiar with the matter said NVIDIA shares added nearly 2% after hours. That's not too bad. Even with the U.S. government taking a cut, the decision could be worth billions of dollars in sales to NVIDIA, which enjoys comfortable margins on its AI chips. In the most recent fiscal quarter, NVIDIA reported gross margins of 73.4% on $57 billion in sales. That is crazy. They can totally afford 25% for the big guy. I have no idea if it'll be legal. We'll have to figure out if this gets approved, because in general, the United States does not enforce export duties. That's not something America's done historically. We had some folks on the show to contextualize that and give us some background when this was first floated. It feels like it is happening now, but we'll see where it lands. In August, NVIDIA CFO Colette Krass said that if geopolitical issues subside, the company could ship between 2 billion and 5 billion of chips to China per quarter, which could increase if orders pick up. So they're doing
right around that time too.
Quarter.
Lutnick was on CNBC,
Yep.
And this was the quote that originally ticked off the Chinese. He said, "We don't sell them our best stuff, not our second best stuff, not even our third best." And he said, "You want to sell the Chinese enough that their developers get addicted to the American technology stack." That's the thinking. And of course, CCP basically immediately said, "We don't want any of them now," because we're offended.
But it does seem like, I don't know. We'll have to have Bill Bishop or someone on the show to contextualize how China is receiving this information, whether or not they will actually buy it. Of course, we're going to be joined by Aaron Ginn in just 30 minutes, so stay tuned for that. Also, let me tell you about Linear. Meet the system for modern software development. Linear streamlines work across the entire development cycle from roadmap to release. So the exports could help Chinese tech giants that have struggled to get top chips to train their models. Wang has argued NVIDIA should be allowed to compete in the Chinese market because China has many of the world's top AI researchers, and the U.S. should want them using American technology. If you are not going to replace China, Wang said at a think tank event. Trump said that the government would take a similar approach to exports from NVIDIA competitor AMD as well as Intel, in which the government now has a 10% stake. The approval comes just weeks after administration officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, torpedoed a push from NVIDIA to sell a slimmed-down Blackwell chip to China before a recent trade meeting between Trump and Xi Jinping. Some officials, including AI czar David Sachs and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, have backed exporting the H200 because it could be a good compromise that allows NVIDIA to compete with China's Huawei technologies without vaulting China past the U.S. in AI. People familiar with the discussion said, I don't know. It's such an interesting question that I still wrestle with. Like we exported a ton of Teslas to China, and BYD and Huawei have now
arguably completely leapfrogged.
So they did not become addicted to the American electric car
that was
stack.
the point I was making earlier.
Yeah,
you can make the art like almost with every single product. They've said, we'll work with you to make this thing that you want to make. We're really good at making things.
Yes.
And then they ultimately just make a better version of said product and make it for cheaper.
Yes.
And in the case of cars, right now we're obviously not allowing these cars to be imported into the U.S. But they can simultaneously say, we're happy to keep making you these things. We're also going to compete with you directly.
Yeah.
And constantly try to be better than what you do.
I just wonder, like, if you play it back, you don't allow Tesla to export the amazing Model S or Model 3. Does that slow down BYD's development of their car or Huawei's or Xiaomi's development?
Yeah, my understanding is they were able to basically get a paid education making Teslas, and they were able to leverage that into making.
But that's about making the car there. If you don't make the car there, which is because the
NVIDIA has a Shanghai.
But that's research. That's not made there. Like, it's very different when you're saying, okay, we're gonna go and produce this product there, and like you are gonna get educated there, and I
think it's different. But you remember we've gone through this before. China's like 5-year plans to create a domestic chip industry.
They've been doing 5-year plans for 60 years.
I know. They're building, that's what I'm saying, and I would argue that it's working. They're not caught up, but they're certainly made, massive amount of progress. They've made more progress than any other country on earth.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Tyler?
I think if you want to think about like getting the Chinese addicted to our chips, it's like how addictive are the chips?
Yeah.
Because if you can make a comparison between like you have the NVIDIA chips and then you have the Chinese or like TPU, right? Because the TPU is like in some ways it's harder to use. The open source is not as good.
Yep.
But if it's just more economical, like if the actual hardware is just like a little bit cheaper, then it doesn't really matter how worse the software is. People will eventually move to it. So it's like I don't think there is actually that much like soft power in the kind of general open source stuff like that in regards to like NVIDIA. It doesn't seem very addictive outside of it just being cheaper.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, like America is very much like addicted to Chinese solar panels right now. Like the Chinese solar panels come here, they're cheap. And so we don't wind up buying or building a domestic solar panel industry because just to get anything off the ground, you have to go in and say, okay, we're going to deal with having no margin forever and no venture capitalist can underwrite it and no private equity firm can underwrite it. And so it just doesn't really happen.
Yeah, but the Chinese, they do that.
I guess they do bear the cost more. So does it matter? But it's like they wouldn't have to bear the cost. So we're imposing a little bit of a cost on them. It's like they actually have to pay it. Whereas like they don't. Whereas like they wouldn't if we didn't do that, right? Because if we don't go in and we don't sell them NVIDIA chips, then they're like, okay, well, it makes economic sense to back Huawei and fund them. Whereas now they're like, it's not economically logical to back Huawei, but we have to because there's so much pressure from better chips flooding the market, like NVIDIA chips, that if we don't fund Huawei uneconomically, if we don't lose money on Huawei, like we will never be competitive.
Yeah, I think it seems to me that like either way they're going to fund it, the Chinese government.
I think that's Jordy's point too.
Really, I don't think it actually matters that much.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, let's move on, but let's also tell you about ADIO, the AI native CRM. ADIO builds, scales, and grows your company to the next level. The United States will allow NVIDIA's H200 processors. It's second best. So this is a change from what Lutnick said, right? Lutnick said we're not selling the best, we're not selling the second best. Turns out we are selling the second best now. Maybe we'll sell the first best soon. Who knows? Well, we should play this clip from Patrick O'Shaughnessy's fantastic interview with Gavin Baker on Invest Like the Best. He's talking about space data centers. We had Dalian on the show yesterday talking about space data centers. Dalian still thinks it's pretty far out.
Gavin knew we needed a new narrative.
Yep.
He said after the fateful BG2 episode ended the AI trade, we needed a new trade. And now we're getting the space data center trade.
Okay, let's hear the space data center.
I think the most important thing that's going to happen in the world in the next 3 to 4 years is data centers in space. If you think about it from first principles, data centers should be in space. What are the fundamental inputs to running a data center? They're power and they're cooling. And then there are the chips. The inputs to making the tokens come out of the magic machines. Yeah. So in space, you can keep a satellite in the sun 24 hours a day.
It's pretty cool.
And the sun is 30% more intense. And this results in 6 times more irradiance in outer space than on planet Earth. So you're getting a lot of solar energy. Point number 2, because you're in the sun 24 hours a day, you don't need a battery. And this is a giant percentage of the cost. So the lowest cost energy available in our solar system is solar energy in space, okay? Second, for cooling, in one of these racks, a majority of the mass and the weight is cooling. And the cooling in these data centers is incredibly complicated. Crazy, I mean, the HVAC, the CDUs, the liquid cooling. In space, cooling is free. You just put a radiator on the dark side of the satellite.
It's fucking cold.
And it's as close to absolute zero as you can get. So all that goes away. And that is a vast amount of cost. And then let's think about how the
problem
satellite is
a bit more complicated than that?
What?
The dissipating heat in space.
This is what everyone's fighting about. I'm not exactly sure how it plays out, like the physics of it. But a lot of people are saying like, yes, it's in a vacuum, but because it's in a vacuum, you can't just you can't like it's not as passive of cooling. It's more of a material science problem. Like there's more physics problems there. Also, like I don't know. I feel like you might need some. I feel like you might need some batteries because I think there are orbits that are effectively in the sun all the day, but I think that the Earth's shadow like hits them not like every day, but like every once in a while you'll be you'll be caught in a shadow, almost in like what's it called? I don't know, some sort of you just get caught in the shadow, not every day, but like every 12 days or every 30 days or something like that. And so in that scenario, I mean, maybe it'd be fine if you're doing inference and you can just turn off the whole system for a little bit and there's some redundancy.
I just texted our resident spaceman, Dalian.
Yeah.
I said,
answer this.
I just said, quick take.
Yeah, on this.
It's urgent.
It's urgent. Well, we'll get back from him. There's more to that clip, though. We should play this because there's a funny part in here. Look at this.
Going to connect those racks? Well, it's funny. In the data center, the racks are over a certain distance connected with fiber optics. And that just means a laser going through a cable. The only thing faster than a laser going through a fiber optic cable is a laser going through absolute vacuum. So if you can link these satellites in space together using lasers, you actually have a faster and more coherent network than in a data center on Earth, okay? For training, that's going to take a long time, just because it's so big. But for inference, so let's think about the user experience. When I asked Grok about you, and it gave the nice answer.
This is crazy, though. They've done a podcast together 5 times. Why is he asking Grok about Patrick? I was like, what is going on?
Went to some sort of metro aggregation facility in New York, probably within 10 blocks of here. There's a small little metro router that's routed those packets to a big XAI data center somewhere. Okay? And then the computation was done, and it came back over the same path. If the satellites can communicate directly with the phone, and Starlink has demonstrated direct-to-cell capability,
this whole thing. Boom, boom. I would like to know how much SpaceX exposure Gavin has, because if this does become a dominant, at least narrative over the next few years, a lot of the people that we know that have computers in space are not exactly bullish on data centers in space on a short time horizon. We had the founder of StarCloud on. He's obviously bullish, but I don't believe he has any satellites in orbit. We've had Dalian on. He puts things into orbit. He brings them back down. He's talked about he technically has computers.
Dalian's in a hilarious position because Founders Fund has a huge position in SpaceX, obviously, but also Dalian has had to do the hard work of like getting something in space and probably understands like how much of a grunt work it is and how much of a grind it is to get even just like something as small as like the pod into space. And then he's also seen at Crusoe like what a real data center looks like. And the idea of putting something so massive into space, like it's bigger than the Hubble, it'd be bigger than the ISS. Like, what are you thinking about this space data center thing? Have you evolved on this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, it seems just kind of impractical. Like, if you think about if you're doing inference or something, like how much of the cost of the token is actually in the energy, right? Because like I feel like one of the main benefits of having the data center in space is that energy is basically free, right?
Sure.
It's right there.
Sure.
But if you think about, like, I think Casey Hanmer has talked about this. Like, if you think about an inference, when you're doing inference, the portion of the cost that's actually the energy, it's like very tiny. Because it's like the chip is expensive, or doing like it's like not that expensive. So it's like, okay, the cost gains overall are like not that great, and then it's like, well, what if you want to change the chip to the next generation, or what if you need to do some kind of like mechanical work?
If you want to change
Are we ignoring how a broken cluster would take some sort of intervention to fix, as well as the cost per kilogram in fuel costs? Just for context, so Gavin was at Fidelity, and led a $900 million investment in SpaceX at a $12 billion post-money valuation.
That's amazing. Wow. What a go. That's incredible.
Okay, actually, yeah, so maybe they didn't do the full 900 million.
Yeah.
Grok isn't sure.
Sure. But I mean, either way, like you can be pro or con on space data centers.
And Grok also says SpaceX has
SpaceX.
been Atreides' largest venture capital position as of 2022, comprising an estimated 30 to 40% of its VC portfolio.
Yeah.
Feels wild. So, anyways, Gavin is set to, on one hand, Gavin could know things about space data centers that the rest of us don't know because of his position and proximity to SpaceX. At the same time, SpaceX, if they go public next year, would benefit a lot from having a space data center kind of like narrative as part of this.
It's crazy because the business is so solid. I feel like you don't need a fourth act or whatever.
Okay, wait. So what about this? So if a lot of the gains of a space data center are just because the energy is free, why don't we just? But then there's this hard part about having like different satellites everywhere.
Yeah.
Put the data center on the moon. There's no atmosphere, so you don't get the 30% reduction in energy from the sun, and just put a data center on the moon.
Well, don't you get a 50% reduction because there's a dark side of the moon, like the moon.
You wouldn't put it on the dark side of the moon.
No, I know. But what I mean is that our dark side sometimes gets light from when it's not facing us, right? And so you only, if you're on the moon, you only get light 50% of the time. Whereas if you're a satellite and you're flying out in space and you're kind of orbiting the Earth, but at a weird axis so that you're not constantly in shadow all the time, you're getting sun. He says 24 hours a day. I think it's like 99.9% of the time. But regardless, it's like almost always. Whereas if you're actually like on the moon, you don't get sunlight 100% of the time. You get it 50% of the time. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's because
maybe there's some
the sun's not like or the moon's not sun locked. It's Earth locked.
Pull up this post I put at the bottom of the stack from Joe Morrison. He's over at Umbra Space.
While we pull that up, let me tell you about Restream. One live stream, 30 plus destinations. If you want to multi-stream, go to restream.com and we will pull up this next post. What we got?
Joe says, you just put a radiator on the dark side of the satellite. And he says thermal engineers in absolute shambles right now.
Yeah, people are not. I don't know. People are so split.
Casey Hammer says, to be fair, this is a big satellite. Joe says many big satellites.
Big satellite makes it easier. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you need like a lot of like you need basically a lot of mass in order to dissipate enough heat
from a GB 300 or something. GB 200. 200.
Somehow AST Space Mobile Inc. is up 27% in the last 5 days. So people are quite excited.
Yeah. Well, should we head over to Gulfstream news? There's some massive news from Gulfstream Aerospace. The G400 introduces next-gen Gulfstream tech to its class. Sound on to learn more with Gulfstream President Mark Burns. How has Mark Burns not been on the show yet? Here we go. Clearly don't have a no render policy over here. They're render maxing.
You think they're just not you think they could just be adding special effects?
What do you mean? This is the most rendered video I've ever seen. This looks like it was rendered.
Okay, but here he is.
2010.
You think this is real though?
Bring Gulfstream performance standards
this is
to
on
the
a green
large
screen.
cabin class.
Damn.
Fulfilling our customers' needs for a product line.
I knew it was too good to be true.
Look at
and
this.
Enhance every journey.
You're like, this is real. This is what it looks like.
It's far away.
It does look like an ace plane though.
With Gulfstream's signature combination of range, speed, and cabin comfort, the G400 will provide unrivaled efficiency. Thanks to the combination of the advanced Pratt &
This is
Whitney
going to be a
800
hot
series
Christmas
engine
gift this year.
and the
Absolutely.
Gulfstream
People have been
designed
wondering.
clean wing
I think this
and
will be
efficient wing
top of. This will be under the tree for a lot of people.
It's not ideal to do like a pre-order as a gift, you know. It's nice to have something under the tree, but I think people would make an exception here. It's so funny. I was talking with a mutual friend of ours, guest who's been on the show many times, and they're planning to purchase a jet at some point in the relatively near future. And he was so fixated on like needing to be able to, it will be his first jet. And he was so fixated on like, I need to be able to stand up at like it can't have, like the cabin needs to be big enough that I can like walk around freely. I was like, come on, for your first jet, can you not just like, tolerate like slightly lower height in the cabin? He was like, no, I gotta be able to move freely.
Go straight for the 747, the BBJ.
Yeah.
Get the VVIP package, the one that only the Qataris have for some reason. Casey Hanmer.
Okay, I got it back. I got a text back from Delian. I won't read all of it.
Okay.
There's a line here. This is from someone else. Dude, all this data centers and space stuff. Also, I'm not going to read that. You need 1 million 100 kilowatt sats to generate 100 gigawatts in orbit, 100 kilowatt sats weighing 1,000 kilogram, including payload, would mean a 5x increase in power density, and you can't just not have batteries and slap a radiator on the back, LOL. And then there was some choice words exchanged that I won't read on the show. But anyways, I think we should host the data center in space debate.
That sounds good.
We should get a few people on here, somebody to be bullish, somebody to be bearish. I think we want somebody to be bullish that has put things into orbit and taken them down many times. I think it's hard to lean on somebody's kind of take or opinion if they're not actually participating in space. They're just sort of speculating.
Yeah. Let's read through a little bit of what Casey Hanmer had to say. He said, here's one idea about SpaceX's next big thing, AI computing inference, again, not training, on orbit. But how the hell can SpaceX do this cheaper than just building more data centers on the ground? From first principles, it's an attractive proposition because the GPUs have extremely high value per kilogram and extreme revenue per kilowatt, both of which are relatively expensive. That is, the value prop somewhat washes out the pain of operating in space. So I took a closer look. If anyone can make this work, it is a Starlink-derived system. So I started with the Starlink V3 satellites with some high-fidelity CEO CAD below. Orbital parameters, pick a sun-synchronous orbit. So we're in full kilowatt, 1,400 kilowatt per meter squared sunlight at all times. No need for batteries. Deploy the solar array in sun slicer mode, facing full sun, but the edge is pointing in the orbital direction, bottom right in these images, to minimize drag. But the inference, Starlink, Starthought satellites don't have to scrape the atmosphere. Being in sun-synchronous orbit, they'll need to use the rest of the Starlink constellation for backhaul via laser links anyway, and higher orbits actually improve worst-case latency. Very slightly. Too high, though, and SSO is relatively full of debris. Let's pick 560 kilometers. A Starlink satellite in this orbit has full sun, so the back half is always shaded and relatively cool. The next hottest thing in the sky is the Earth, taking up almost half the sky to the bottom left in these images. And so what does he conclude? He says, I've seen a bunch of high-inclination Starlink launches from the Vandenberg recently, but I don't think any of them were going to sun-synchronous orbit. In any case, a ring of inference satellites visible at dawn and dusk running north and south will be awesome. If one Starship can launch 100 tons to LEO, then that gets close to 30 megawatts of inference per launch. 1,000 watts is 300 gigawatts. Now we're talking real scale. We're doing one launch of Falcon 9 per day. That was Delian's loosely. We're now one a day, so 300 in a year. So you get to 1,000 over 3 years if you're on a one-a-day cadence, or if you can wind up getting more. The math is not that crazy, but it does seem like Delian was pushing more towards like, hey, this is maybe 10 or 20 years, not the next 3 years. But it certainly will be fun to follow the story. In the meantime, let me tell you about Cognition, the team behind the AI software engineer, Devin. Crush your backlog with your personal AI engineering team. Jordy has survived.
I keep getting the
podcast in a
can like down the wrong.
They should really make a drink specifically for podcasters that has no carbonation, that cannot be choked on in any way. Mark Benioff says LLMs are the new disk drives, commodity infrastructure you hot swap for whoever's cheapest plus best. The fantasy that the model is the moat just expired. Mark Benioff having fun on the timeline. I love that he's having fun. I love that he's taking shots.
Don't they have an AI lab, to be clear?
They were working on Einstein for a while, but I think that they are very much happy to be a wrapper, happy to be a buyer of LLMs at this point. It certainly has penciled out that way. We can talk more to Mark about that.
He's feeling good.
But
stock's up 10% in the last 5 days.
Let's hear it for
best salesman in history. What do you think about Michael Burry saying the whole industry needs a $500 billion IPO ASAP?
Said everyone that knows anything knows this. OpenAI is the next Netscape, doomed and hemorrhaging cash. Microsoft is still trying to keep it afloat while keeping it off balance sheet and sucking out the IP. So why do they keep getting funded? The whole industry needs a $500 billion IPO ASAP. The whole industry needs to go away and sit in a corner for a couple of centuries and think about what's done, says Jeffrey Miller. Wow. I don't know. This is people want extreme takes.
This post would go super hard if you don't understand the Microsoft OpenAI relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
what was Netscape's peak revenue? What was Netscape?
If I remember correctly, they IPO'd with like 15 million of revenue.
That feels a little bit different. Netscape's peak revenue in 1997 was 500 million. I mean, we're up at 20 billion this year for OpenAI.
Yeah, their total revenue before IPO for first 2 operating quarters, Netscape reported total revenue of 16.6 million.
It's just odd. I mean, did Netscape have like an enterprise business?
Should ask Mark.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, even if there's like even if there's more commoditization, like it's gonna take time, and I don't know, the dynamics of the competition here feels like there will still be a lot of value, even if it is somewhat commodity infrastructure. It's like, you know what else is commodity infrastructure? Like AWS, GCP, Azure. Like you get a server with some hard disk on it. Like that is commodity, and yet they all have 30% margins, and they're all massive businesses. And when Amazon broke out AWS as its own line, it was like an IPO of its own company because it was so big. It was such a massive business, and it should be completely commodity because it's just servers in a data center. And yet,
yeah, it's interesting. Margins. Yeah, it's interesting too. I mean, Burry has positioned himself of just hating any company that's overheated. But ChatGPT having close to 1 billion weekly actives, and ultimately, even if they just compete in search, right? Yeah. At least it's a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. Whether or not they fully execute against that is another thing. But
are you buying the IPO timeline of Cohere, then Anthropic, then OpenAI, or do you think they will be sorted in a different pattern?
What was the order?
Cohere first. That's Aidan Gomez's foundation model lab. He's of course on the Transformer paper, also a dripped out technology brother.
That's right.
With a fantastic set of outfits. Then Anthropic, and then OpenAI. OpenAI third. That's the rumor.
Yeah, hard to say. I have no idea how the market will react to Cohere.
Yeah, Cohere has shifted more into like the business, the enterprise market, fully enterprise.
Not in the timeline at all. That could very well be intentional. Yeah. But it would be. It'll be interesting how much excitement they can build around the IPO, assuming they're losing a lot of money. Yeah. Assuming the enterprise is really competitive and they're competing with Anthropic and OpenAI and open source models.
If the narrative changes to the point where, this idea of every enterprise is going to need a basically a custom LLM that's fine-tuned or pre-trained on their data, like what AWS CEO Matt Garman was talking to us about these pre-training checkpoints where you can go in and say, okay, I have a business and I absolutely do not want to upload my data to Anthropic. I don't want to update it. I don't want to upload it to OpenAI, but I want a model that understands my business's data at a core level in the pre-training step, and Cohere can offer that and so show traction there. That feels like that could be the next wave. We've talked to like a number of founders that are building those sort of like custom pipelines, and there's not really a public company that is even anywhere in that narrative, and that narrative does feel very nascent. It feels like it has not percolated through the public markets yet. So I don't know. It could be exciting for them. Well, let me tell you about.
They've only raised $1.4 billion.
I did not realize they were.
Sorry, 1.5.
1.5 billion.
1.54 billion. Very modest amount.
Yeah.
Especially when you have seed stage companies raising $500 million.
We got one of those on the show today.
Dean Rao.
We're excited.
Joining.
Let's go.
Later, he kicked the hornet's nest on the timeline.
What did he do?
A little bit. People were pushing back
because of his racing history.
No.
Oh, people show respect.
I love that. They show massive respect.
Good.
No, but I think Jack Hitzlow was saying that NVIDIA was valued at $500 million when they IPO'd. Of course, that was a very long time ago. But anyways, people were just saying like it feels pretty potentially overheated. But we have Naveen coming on the show today, and I'm excited to hear about the opportunity from him.
I'm ready to say it's overvalued unless he's built a company previously and sold it.
Twice, maybe.
Yeah, twice. If he's done that, then he's off the hook. But he's got to prove it to us. Because if he's just some new grad, some dropout,
like a Waterloo,
if he's just like dropout. If he shows up on the show and he's just like, I had this idea in my garage, I didn't go to school, I've never done in business before, and now then I'm gonna call him out and I'm gonna say, you're overvalued. You raised too much money. But if he can prove to us that he's done it once or twice before, then I'll let him off the hook.
Yeah.
I'll let him off the hook. Anyway.
I think that's fair.
Let me tell you about Privy. Privy makes it ezy to build on crypto rails, securely spin up white label wallets, sign transactions, and integrate on-chain infrastructure, all through one simple API. Let's read the semi-analysis post. It says, a common misconception about OpenAI's upcoming custom chip is that since it's a custom chip, it won't be flexible and will be a data flow machine. OpenAI has recognized that the 100x efficiency gains for training and inference happen at the algorithm layer, and the hardware chip needs to be flexible enough to accommodate these algorithm changes. We went from just pre-training transformers to now doing RL post-training on transformers. We went from dense transformers to mixture of expert transformers, and soon ultra-sparse transformers that will have 4 active experts per token out of 2,048 total experts. We went from casual MHA attention to MQA and GQA to attention sync sliding attention to now even learn sparse attention, despite what AI tourists think. The chip OpenAI is building with Broadcom will be far more flexible than TPUs. Interesting. Despite most of OpenAI's chip team being poached from Google's TPU team. The semiconductor horse race continues to fascinate me, and I'm so glad that we have the good folks over at Semi-Analysis coming on the show regularly to help us understand it. I always enjoy talking to them, and we have two folks from Semi-Analysis joining the show next week, so we will be having a great time. Let me tell you about Turbo Puffer, serverless vector and full text search, built from first principles and object storage, fast, 10x cheaper, and extremely scalable.
Of course.
That's right. It's scalable. A hedge fund was ordered to pay a bonus to a trader who made 97% of its revenues. This is hilarious because when I read this at first, I thought it was his target bonus was, let's say, 10 million, and he brought in 9.7 million, and so he was 97% of the way to his bonus. And they were like, "You didn't hit your bonus, buddy." Yep. You don't get the bonus at all. And I was like, oh, that sucks, but like that's kind of the deal. That kind of makes sense, but. Evolution Capital Management has to pay him because
so a hedge fund that was sued by a trader for refusing to pay a performance-related bonus, despite him making 97% of its revenue, has been ordered to pay him $5.4 million plus interest by the High Court in London. When I read the headline of the story, I expected it to not be in the mid 7 figures, but
what'd you expect?
I mean,
8 figures?
I was hoping at least 8.
Yeah,
hoping at least 8.
It's not getting a G400 off of this. Come on.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Robert Gagliardi sued his former employer, Evolution Capital Management, in London, alleging that it acted in bad faith by denying him a $7.5 million discretionary bonus after he had generated more than $60 million for the firm.
Wow.
Wait, does this mean that every other trader
lost money?
Was just
something like that. I don't know.
Heavily.
So he was at the fund, brief stint. He made $12 million. He was already paid $7 million, including a $625,000 signing bonus. Base salary was $425K and a $6 million new issue bonus. So he needs to get out of this. He needs to go into AI research ASAP if he wants to be putting up real numbers.
Yep.
This is rough, but there are some harsh words here. He said, Gagliardi, a block trading specialist, alleged that he was told in early 2021 that a return of $10 million over the rest of the year would be an excellent result. When Gagliardi asked the fund's founder, Michael Lurch, for the payout in 2022, he responded, "I'm not going to pay you the bonus. F you, sue me."
So Gagliardi did.
Yeah.
And he won.
He did.
Although Evolution did not dispute his extraordinary returns, the fund argued that the damage done to its reputation as a result of dealing with a U.S. SEC probe into some of Gagliardi's trades at his previous employer outweighed his performance and that the bonus did not need to be paid because it was discretionary. There's no question that Mr. Gagliardi made exceptional profits for the funds, and Mr. Lurch frequently praised his performance in that respect. Had Evolution properly performed the contract, Mr. Gagliardi would have received a discretionary bonus of $5.3 million. The judge also said that Gagliardi was Lurch's prize asset at Evolution. That's a good goal for everyone that is, maybe working at a company. Become the prize asset. Hopefully that doesn't result in in a lawsuit like this. But they're feeling Gagliardi and his lawyer are feeling very vindicated.
Well, we have our next guest here in the Restream waiting room. Let me tell you about Gemini 3 Pro first. Google's most intelligent model yet. State-of-the-art reasoning, next-level vibe coding, and deep multimodal understanding. We have Aaron Ginn, the CEO and co-founder of HydroHost. Good to see you. It's been too long. How are you doing?
Welcome back.
Doing all right. Yeah, I just got back from Southeast Asia.
Oh, yeah?
Well, yeah. And despite what some of the critics were saying, I wasn't smuggling anything I shouldn't have been smuggling. So.
Are you getting accused of smuggling? That is wild. Well, give us the update on your interpretation of the H200 deal, where things landed, where you think the next debate points will be. I'd love to hear that.
As you know, I've said a number of times that even though I am a China hawk, that we have to realize that Trump fundamentally is a pragmatist.
Sure.
And he is not interested in the ideological warfare. And I think that him taking over the Republican Party proves that. And the orientation of reshoring to America, which we all know, I wrote one of the first arguments for a new Monroe Doctrine. So now you saw that the Department of War has been putting that out. The White House has been very clear that it's trying to reshore its emphasis back to LATAM and South America, and to build up the Ring of Fire from South Korea down to Singapore, essentially, to be more sovereign. Essentially, NATO, as we've approached ourselves with having them spend their own money to support their own military, that the expectation is that Asia would do the same thing. So a deal with China on trade was always on the table and was very likely because both parties actually want this to happen. And I do believe that with Huawei that yes, it is the national champion, and they do want to proliferate it, but they're more interested in selling it to other people and promoting themselves as a means of trade, like they did with their Belt and Road Initiative, than they are for internal uses. That's just kind of my estimation, talking to people in the region. I mean, just came back from there. So NVIDIA being in that region and being sold, particularly to China, I think is important for American interests. Whether it's an H20 or B30 or H200 I'm kind of less opinionated on. I just think that we need to be there because half of all AI engineers are Chinese, and we can go through any list of anyone scrolling at the bottom of this this broadcast, and you can see that probably the majority are Asian descent, minimally. And as America, we just have to realize that like we're good at certain things and we're not good at certain things. So we're very good at commerce. We're very good at free markets. We're very good at enterprise. We're very good at creating the default framework, the rules of the road for the world to transact. I think when it comes to trying to do these other strategies, I think we're not very good at it. And we just kind of have to realize that also that the president of the United States is interested in making deals. He's not interested in trying to get involved in other people's business.
Yeah. There's like a million different pieces here, but let's start with the fact that there are so many fantastic, genius AI researchers in China. Why is it in the interest of the United States to help them? Is it that if they start developing on NVIDIA chips, it gets the CUDA ecosystem stronger, and we will actually get more open source software, basically for free from China, that will come back to America and make our AI efforts stronger? Or is it we want them to be familiar with NVIDIA when ultimately they come over here on O1 visas and start working for American companies?
I think that's too narrow focus. It's sort of like Boeing. Do you want Boeing in China?
I mean, yes, because I want Boeing to be a thriving American business. I want Boeing to maximize profits, and I don't see the 747 as a piece of. I don't see the 747 as a nuclear bomb.
I think that's the key prior, right? Yeah. On the second one is like, do you think that an H200 is a I don't know, like a some form of missile technology?
Yes. And, increasingly, I have backed off the idea that these chips should be viewed as weapons,
like a defense technology.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I've backed off of that.
Yeah, because I view it much more like telco technology.
I agree.
And we did not win at that. We lost that. And that's because we didn't offer the world an alternative. We just were like, hey, don't use ZTE, don't use Huawei.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and they were like, okay, well, give us something else. And we were like, well, I don't have anything to give you. Right?
Yeah. Well,
so what do they do?
We're sort of separating things out here because on the one hand, like there's give the rest of the world something, and then there's other, which is like give China something, which is like there is a difference there, right?
No, that's true.
Because like I'm totally down to go belt for belt and road for road all over the globe, right? But the question of is there any world where we could get a different cell phone tower deployed in Beijing that's not a Huawei tower? Like, no way, right? It's just impossible.
But then you go back to the fact of like, you're right, like all metaphors fail. That's why they're metaphors.
Sure.
So the other exogenous factors you got to think through that's different from telcos is the fact of like the level of AI engineering talent, and the fact that like its funding propelling forward American AI. That's just the reality of where we are. The second is the fact of like they do not have the foundry capacity or the foundry skill set to produce similarly level at scale. Scale absolutely is true. Yep. They could be at some point be approaching some form of like 5 nanometer process.
Yep.
And there's like rumors around that. So and that's a little bit of an obsession because it is a barrier of technology that like I should say the West has been skilled at, not particularly America, Japan, and the Dutch. But we don't want to fund that enterprise.
Yep.
And I think that's where the pragmatism comes into play. It's like if we don't offer them something, they'll just do it themselves. And I'd rather take money from them and build our own sort of reshoring in America.
But to be clear, they're still going to do everything themselves, right?
No,
it's just going to take them. I
don't think so.
You think that China will happily be dependent on foreign powers? I mean,
last time there were rumors of this sale, they were putting out press releases saying like, "Hey, if you're going to buy NVIDIA, you got to prove it. You got to prove that you need it. You got to prove that Huawei won't work." It felt like there was a lot of pushback from the CCP.
I don't believe
buying NVIDIA.
I don't believe at all that they're just going to be like, "Thank you for the H200s. We're going to stop investment in our domestic chip manufacturing."
Yeah, but the problem is like in that flow, one, you assume a level of CCP control that's just not realistic.
Sure.
That it's a country of like 1.3 billion people with very successful entrepreneurs.
Yeah, but they've been ripping 5-year plans for over and over and over and over.
Yeah, but that stuff doesn't matter. Like, you have to understand that, like, that there's lots of propaganda that that they say that they actually never happens in the real world. Go look at Africa, go look at all the airports and see what actually happened. Go look at the ports. Yes, there are certain examples of ports actually being transferred, like the Sri Lanka port, but go look at the rest of the ones, like, they didn't happen. So they say lots of things, but the question is, like, what matters in terms of the national security orientation of America? And I would much rather take money from their economy and put it back into our economy than trying to give them both the demand side and the supply side argument. You're making a supply side argument, which I think is very much how the CCP thinks about the world, which is like, oh, we need to build our own chip supply. But in the orientation, I think that, Jordy, you're more biased towards, which is like, well, let's also give them a demand argument. I'm like, no, I don't want to give them a demand argument. I would rather mitigate that as much as possible to say that, yes, like, they have probably like 5 or 6 multi-billion-dollar operations that like want to have these types of chips that are not military oriented, and by applying these export controls that are overly extreme, you're basically giving them a demand argument as well. And I'm saying I don't want the demand argument. Like, if they're still going to have a supply argument, that's fine. Like, go buy a BYD car and hopefully it doesn't catch on fire. Like, so like. Like just because BYD doesn't exist.
Are you bearish on BYD? They're catching strays right now.
I saw one of them on fire in Hong Kong. No joke. Yeah, I have a video of it.
Okay,
I text you.
Wait, let's go to the cars and talk about what we were debating earlier. If we are just talking about cars instead of chips, and of course there's going to be a metaphor here, but if we're just talking about cars, and we want, and the frame is like we're all China hawks, and we're putting on like rah, we want America to win the electric car race. Should Tesla have sold Teslas into China? Because it feels like they did, and then China was able to make a whole bunch of cars that compete directly with Tesla, and it feels like maybe better, maybe cheaper, maybe better and cheaper on some sort of Pareto frontier. If we run that experiment, we try and think through the counterfactual. If Tesla had never sold a car in China, where would the Su7 be? The jumping Huawei car, the Xiaomi car, the BYD Han, the one that has the karaoke machine in it. Like, there's some crazy cars. Would those exist? Would they be delayed? Would they happen faster? How do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think this is where there is a reality, right? Which is that they're going to copy, but I don't think that is something we can change.
Yeah.
Speaking as a half Chinese American, so it's just the nature of what is the way they think about
competition. It's just competition.
Yeah.
You're going to want to compete.
They view competition as copying.
Yeah, and importantly,
part, right?
There's one world where they need the industrial power of like 1 million H200s, and there's another one where if you give them a single H200, they can tear it down and like try and reverse engineer it as much as possible, and then they can also do all the learning curve stuff on their companies, on their national champions, on Huawei.
I think it is reasonable in terms of an argument against export controls if you view this as a means of trying to slow down their own model level progress. Like I can at least cogently understand what's being presented. I do not agree with this from the perspective of hardware engineering, because again, if you don't have the ability to make a car, then what's the risk, right? Like just mitigate their ability to make a car. Yeah. Which has generally been my position. Is like I want to mitigate their ability to make chips, and so in a world where there's a demand and supply, right? They in SCCP, because they're communists, so they love focusing on supply solutions to everything. Which, by the way, doesn't work. We're all free marketers here. We all are biased towards Austrian. Like, we know that their philosophy of the world doesn't work. So they can talk about supply side engineering all they want, but again, they don't have the ability right now to aggressively address their lithography problems. And so in that world, I want to just win, because if they can't, if we remove the demand stuff, because all other companies want to use NVIDIA, if we remove the demand stuff, we're removing one of the biggest parts that would give them justification to accelerate on the SMIC side. But if they're just going to go and play around and be like, hey, we're going to dump money into SMIC because we want to use local, but we're everywhere. It's like the fast food thing of like, sure, they have local fast food, but McDonald's and Starbucks fresh. And so like that's more how I think about it. They're still going to try to copy, but if you don't give them the ability to actually have the toolkit, then it's a much safer transaction. And I think John, what you said is important is that the debate is highly mixed up between you think an H200 is an F-35. If you remove that as an a prior, then the world becomes significantly simpler to understand. But if you view what the H200 Blackwell or whatever as a Patriot missile, then like there's no real place to like have a conversation to be rational.
Yeah.
Because my view is like I don't have as much of an opinion on GB or B, that kind of like debate. I think American companies need to be in China because we want the ability to not only address the second largest economy in the world and like have access to like that is the Trump position and that's my position. Like we should sell to the world. We should be an export nation. But the other is like China is going to copy and it's just part of the equation.
Okay, flip around for me and give me the sorry. I wanted to hear
flipping.
I wanted to hear more shifting to domestic semiconductor supply chains. What is your theory of the current horse race between Trainium, TPU, and NVIDIA? It felt like NVIDIA was dominant last year, the year before. Then we were hearing rumblings of like, hey, maybe AMD is getting it together on the software side. Hey, maybe this TPU thing could be used to train a decent model. The DeepMind team seems to have been able to do that. Are we moving towards more of an oligopoly? What are you thinking about how the American semiconductor AI accelerator horse race is playing out?
My view from the on the TPU side, I don't really know who would buy that as like just like a product. I think Meta is the closest one that kind of makes sense. But why would any of the cloud companies do it? Because they are in a position right now trying to build their own, and they're trying to deleverage. Why they're building their own? They're trying to deleverage from NVIDIA. Yep. So why would they want to commingle themselves with an actual direct like a direct competitor and sell their stuff? And then there's also this like weird zealotry around TPUs. I mean, maybe because we had Thanksgiving, there's not going to happen. But to say that like there's like minimal switching costs is absolutely absurd and insane. There's significant switching costs, and so if you're of the mindset of like, hey, well, we have all this capex and it kind of makes sense, and that's justifiable. Like I can understand that, but that's like the same reasoning that you could apply to the multi-cloud argument, and we didn't really see that happen at all. Basically until GPUs. Now you're seeing much more multi-cloud products because GPUs made everyone multi-cloud. So, and if you were multi-cloud before GPUs, you were as a function of an acquisition. It was not generally intentional. So I think TPUs make sense for Google just as a like vertically integrated strategy because that's what they like to do. And like there are probably some other companies that maybe Apple. I could maybe see that because they love low cost chips just in general. But I don't really see it breaking beyond Google because I just don't know who is really incentivized to buy that. And then I agree with you on the AMD side. Their software is getting better. I think that's just the natural orientation of just they like Lisa Su is the most reasonable because a competitor to NVIDIA's general purpose computing dominance. I'm pretty bearish on Trainium and TPUs just from a chip perspective, I'm bearish on, but as an integrated strategy, it makes sense for them as a company.
Okay,
but the NVIDIA, that's not really it as a company.
Running out of time, but I wanted to ask you about one other thing. There seems to be a number of people trying to manufacture a space data center pump.
Oh, yeah.
As somebody, and even NVIDIA was posting from their corporate account some renders of a company called Star Cloud, some space data centers that they're working on. As somebody that has spent a lot of time in data centers or around data centers all over the world, what are your timelines? Are we talking... Gavin Baker was saying the most important thing in the next 3 to 4 years is data centers in space. I've had plenty of people on the show that believe that it's an exciting possibility or opportunity, but maybe their timelines are more like 10 to 20 years. How do you think about it?
Most of the stuff that has been announced will not happen. There'll
Ever?
be no, like as in think of it as like a 50%. So if they announce like 5 gigawatts, probably going to be like 2. And because this stuff's really building this stuff is actually quite hard, and America has not really behaved in a manner to me that believes it's that serious of a thing. Like this is a very niche issue, and one reason why the going back to the H200, the reason why it's making less noise now is because it is a niche issue. It is something that maybe a couple 100,000 people really care about, and in the data center, it affects. Even though it does bring jobs, it does bring these types of opportunities to cities that previously never had a position to support a data center, which is great. It is really kind of a narrow set of people that are really benefiting. And if you go look at, you can go read the bills that are in consideration across America. America is not acting like it's very serious about building data centers. The power profiles, the approvals that are happening, like it's just not happening. Versus the other countries, they're generally more serious about it. And many of these announcements that you, as Jensen disclosed, they're fundraising announcements. They're actually not actual projects yet. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to, let's say they have an equity already lined up, but the equity generally is like 10 to 15% of these projects. So you got to go raise the other portion of it. Mm-hmm. And the offtake side, outside of the hyperscalers, there's not a lot of confidence the credit side has outside of those hyperscalers. So the debt side of the world actually has been quite conservative on these and the private credit. So that's why I never really thought like, the quote unquote bubble talk and bursting, it like we're nowhere really there. If you go talk to lenders, like we're nowhere even close. The type of capital that's being deployed has actually been very conservative, has been aligned with contracts, has been associated with high-paying credit, top-tier customers. We're not seeing, the Geordie credit union in the middle of, SoCal doing B300 loans. And when that happens, then I'll be like,
Yeah, we're working on it.
Like with that's where. If you look at the legal side, if you look at the power profiles, if you look at what's happening and the political nature of it, I don't think many of these projects actually scale to what they need to. But I do agree with Gavin that like we actually do need to get serious about it, because it's not like the world will be worse off with more power, more compute capacity. If all those things get cheaper, our entire life gets better. Yeah. And just as it's cheaper today to get a banana than it was 100 years ago, and that means there's more bananas. That means people consume more bananas. So the logic will still apply for
Let's
power.
Give it up for bananas.
Yeah.
I love banana.
I'll give you a layup for that.
I love banana.
Great to see you, Aaron.
Software is eating the world. Software is eating bananas. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Yeah. We shouldn't have booked 15 minutes. We should have booked 2 hours, because it's always a fun chat. Thank you so much for taking the time. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Merry
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to Graphite.dev, code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. What's under the tree this Christmas? It's Graphite.dev, baby. Put it in it's a great stocking stuffer. Up next, we have Matt Kalish, the co-founder of DraftKings. He's a board member at DraftKings. He's also a board member of Phase Media, and he's the founder of Hardscope, which launches today. Let's bring him in to the TBPN Ultradome. How are you doing, Matt? Great to meet
happening?
You. Thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Hey guys, how's it going today?
It's going fantastic. Merry Christmas.
Great.
Good to see you.
Merry Christmas.
Please, for those who don't know you already, I'd love to kick off, since this is the first time on your show, with a little bit of your background. You have one of the more interesting backgrounds with DraftKings. How do you tell a story in just a few minutes?
Well, I had a couple of friends from some early corporate jobs in my career. I came up through analytics, technology, and then over the years moved more into marketing. And I met some of, my 2 partners, Jason and Paul, really at those jobs. Jason at Capital One, we were early stage business analysts, and then went to a company called Vistaprint. That's where we learned direct marketing. And, we all had this entrepreneurial bug, and we're really looking for the right opportunity to go and spin off and do something kind of in the startup world, which, we had no experience doing, but, we had that drive. So we looked at a million ideas, and then DraftKings kind of stumbled along. We just felt like there was a lot of people that liked predicting things in sports, but didn't really have a great way to do it. So that was back in 2012. We launched the daily fantasy sports platform. Over the course of a few years, grew that to over 10 million registered users, and it became just kind of a big cultural phenomenon. And then come 2017, that's really when sports betting started opening up in the US. So DraftKings was in a really great position to extend our product. Launched a sports betting platform first in the US, outside of Nevada, and became a market leader in that space. And then over the years, just kept developing out the product, went public in 2020, and it's been a really amazing ride. I mean, a growth story that I'm really proud of.
Yeah. Take me through, I'm sure there's a ton of questions that we can kick around prediction markets and sports betting and what's going on there. But first, take us through the launch today. Take us through HardScope. How are you positioning that?
Yeah, I had a 14-year run at DraftKings that, we've seen it all, the ups and downs, and, built a really amazing team over the years. I have, the type of team at DraftKings where if I don't come to work for a week, things are amazing and fine. I'm telling you, like the caliber of the people, the leadership there, the team has been built out just so well. And, I'm a builder at heart. I like starting things. I like participating in industries that are disruptive, that are in the middle of a lot of displacement change. And a couple years back, I worked with one of the original founders of FaZe to buy the company off the public market and bring it back private. And it's kind of a space that I'm just super intrigued by, the massive amount of disruption in media, moving from traditional forms into creator-led to community, this sort of decentralized media through social channels. And I've also found it really intriguing how content discovery has changed so much, like short form clipping and the TikTok, the shorts. That's how people are really finding content these days. And FaZe is really one of the best in the world at that. So just kind of jumping in, rebuilding the business side of that team, and kind of relaunching and bringing FaZe back to #1 in creator media. That was a initial focus. And I decided to leave DraftKings and transition out to do this full time to launch HardScope, which is kind of the platform that FaZe operates on. It's a talent and brand platform to access the creator economy at scale. And it's a space I just think is tremendously underserved and a really massive market opportunity. So, I felt like it was the right time for me to go all in on that. And I'm really excited to be doing it.
So what's like walk me through how to actually use the product if you're a brand. Does it feel like just autonomous marketplaces where brands are meeting creators? Are there
I guess a better question is like there's probably been
how much hand holding is going on?
There's been maybe hundreds of attempts at building these sort of like brand creator marketplaces. A lot of them haven't. Some have turned into great businesses. There's been
well, we were just talking
little to no like
ventures.
Friday,
ShopMy is like sort of in the same space, correct?
Yeah, creator commerce tool, okay. But this is more advertising focused. Is that correct?
What's special about HardScope is the impossible part is building the actual valuable content assets that brands want to be a part of and reach the audience. And that's what our team for talent does really well. It's a full stack operating platform. Like you literally don't need any other resources. We do it all in-house: production, socials, clipping, all the distribution side, into commercialization like brand partnerships, e-commerce, access to capital and venture for initiatives. And the reputation really of FaZe as the #1 creator collective in the world is the proof. I mean, that's a group that operates with this team on this capability set. And so Hardscope is really bringing that to new creator collectives in more verticals, really high potential talent, and platforming them to really make the most of, the opportunity that they have, which is really unprecedented. Like the level of power and control over the content, their community, and how to commercialize it that talent have today. It's a totally new age, really. And some creators have built out great teams, but most really have underrepresented teams in particularly the commercial side. Like how do I take my great content and then maximize the opportunity as basically the CEO of a media business? And that's what we specialize in for talent.
I think I was a little bit confused. So you're effectively like a back office for personalities, content creators, whatever you want to call them, to help manage everything from ad sales to editing to clipping, content distribution, effectively social media management. Like kind of, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, I mean the landscape is laden with middlemen, let's just say. Like the LA ecosystem is unbelievably brutal. There's middlemen for everything, and we're trying to provide really a full stack solution where you don't need all of this noise to run a really successful business. You need a great business partner, a great team. And we've proven that with the operations of FaZe Clan and how that's come back into prominence as the #1 creator collective. I mean, you're talking about a group that had the top 7 accounts on Twitch last month that's growing in an unprecedented rate, and people thought it was dead 2 years ago. So like we came in, relaunched the brand, and totally turned that around. And that is the proof, that's the proof of concept really that I think is attracting so much interest from other talent and other verticals. And you had asked about the brand side. That's more my background. I was a large media buyer at DraftKings. We have, as you've probably seen, a lot of advertising out there in the world, probably bought every channel you can think of. And the one channel that's hard for everyone is creator direct partnerships.
Yep.
Nobody does this well. And unless you are a pure play specialist where your #1 marketing strategy is through creator, you probably are doing this not so well right now. And traditional agencies who try to tack on things like YouTube buying or other, creator products tend to not do that very well at all. So we're seeing a lot of opportunity on the brand front to be almost like a new kind of agency of record, right? Where we can focus just on creator direct partnership, help kind of bifurcate that channel out from a lot of people just lump it in with audio or other kind of traditional definitions of channels. The opportunity is really breaking out creator direct into its own lane. And maybe it's 2 or 3% of media mix today, but the landscape is changing. This channel might be 20, 30% of people's media mix in the future. I think Unilever said it's over half of their media mix in the next year they're planning. So like a lot of companies are seeing, like we are just not reaching Gen Z audiences that are diverse under 30 are just not watching traditional media, and this is the way to reach them.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. How are you like financing Hardscope? Do you have outside investors? Was it am I hearing it correctly? It was you effectively took FaZe private, and is it the same entity? Or I'm curious how you're planning to scale. Is this something that you want to just operate profitably indefinitely, or is this something that you would one day want to take public again?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've been funding it. I led the acquisition initially, and the biggest reason was it was a kind of a mess. I mean, the public company of FaZe was in really rough shape, and it needed a lot of work, and putting in the 2 years to really rebuild the entire operation. And also to relaunch the brand of FaZe, have that, in such a great place today. That was the upfront investment I viewed as getting the ball rolling, kind of building the initial momentum. And I didn't think it made a lot of sense to, involve a ton of people in that. I thought it was something we had to prove as a team here. So there's no noise in the company. There's no outside, investors funding. I do think in this next stage, now that we've launched, as we scale up, there's a lot of interest I have and the team has in certain strategic partners. So I think including people that can be helpful to us. Absolutely. I mean, that's something that we're going to be looking to do in the next year.
Makes sense. Little bit of a connection issue, by the way. Sorry if there's a lag. Have to ask you about your kind of personal views on the state of both traditional sports books, online sports books, gambling platforms, as well as prediction markets. It's absolutely bloodbath on the timeline right now. Everybody involved seems to hate each other, both even the investors on every side of it, and it's an absolutely wild time right now. How do you think this kind of category evolves over the next 12 to 24 months?
I mean, I love it. This is one of the most competitive spaces in the world, right? Like you had mentioned with the creator economy, it's very competitive. All these different companies doing this or that. I'm like, great. I love that. Like there is nothing better than having a super vibrant, competitive marketplace for products, having to compete and win for customer engagement, for loyalty. There's always some curveball in gaming and gambling and sports betting, whatever. Something new every year, some new competitor, some new kind of product variant. And I think the exchange, like how fast that's kind of come in since the election and evolved into a sports product. It's a fascinating thing. And I think it'll be very competitive. DraftKings obviously announced they're launching an exchange. Pretty much everybody, I think, in the sports betting space has some plan here. And then there's the Kalshi Poly Market, that rivalry. And we just look forward to competing. I feel like DraftKings has proven world-class technology team. We deliver leading products. We have the best customer satisfaction in the market. We pride ourselves on that. So competition's our favorite. It's like something that drives us.
That makes sense. What percentage of content targeting men online do you think is entirely dependent on either gaming, ad revenue? It feels like there's huge swaths of the internet that honestly wouldn't really exist, or creators who I'm curious if you have any kind of internal estimates even.
Like creator media.
Well, yeah, it just feels like I can think of a lot of...
Sagar was on the show talking about he was saying there's a bubble in sports podcasting specifically because of all the sponsorships that come from sports books. It's actually made a lot of people in the creator economy be able to go full time because they've been able to have...
Yeah, I just think a lot of creators where you look at their business and you're like, okay, 90% of your revenue is from either some type of online casinos or sports books, et cetera.
Yeah, it's such a valuable category that going back to Hardscope and expanding beyond just FaZe Clan, which is a sort of mass market, super mainstream media business, going into verticals like sports really aggressively, sports, food, like the content verticals that have a lot of really attractive partnerships that's kind of the whole purpose here is to represent the creator economy across all of the verticals at scale for brands. And in sports, you can build out entire content properties and invest in them knowing that it's going to be supported through some kind of deal, some kind of partnership. It's one of the sure things. So I feel like as a company that builds assets, that makes content from scratch, puts together creator collectives from scratch and scales them, we can invent these things knowing that the sports landscape is so vibrant that there's going to be deals there.
Like that the idea of betting on food. You said that you're working on food channels, and I think that that's one area of the creator economy that has not been financialized yet, and that feels like fertile ground to me. Obviously, business channels.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Exactly, exactly. I don't know exactly how it would work. It's like I'm going to bake this cake. We're going to do a blind taste test. Whoever likes this more, they win. But I'm sure there will be an attempt at financializing baking channels in the future. The Great British Bake Off. I mean, there's probably a prediction market on it already.
Will I burn the cookies or not?
Will you burn the cookies or not? That's a good question. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
congratulations on the launch, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day, and Merry Christmas.
Hey, thanks for having me. Merry Christmas. And, I'd love to come on again in a year and give you some updates on all the great stuff we're up to.
That'd be fantastic.
That'd be great. Anytime you have hot takes, too, on anything gaming or prediction markets related, I know it's a little tough since you're still on the DraftKings board. You got to keep that in mind. But we appreciate the insight, and congrats to the team on the launch.
Thanks so much.
All right, guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Goodbye. And let me tell you about Public.com, investing for those who take it seriously. They got multi-asset investing. They're trusted by millions. Public.com. In a groundbreaking endeavor, the University of Utah Athletics is entering into what could be a $500 million equity partnership with Otro Capital, featuring the creation and shared ownership of a for-profit entity to operate athletics, sources tell Yahoo Sports. So college football is going to the big leagues. They're going to the private equity leagues. Private equity is now going to own your local college football team.
Oh, people absolutely hate this.
The problem, I know, I hate it too, because why are they stopping with college football? Please, high school football,
middle school,
football, lower school, little league,
preschool.
Let's financialize that. Let's roll them up. This is happening. We talked about the hockey rinks that have been sold to private equity rolled up, and then you can't film your own children without paying for the
Somebody out there that really hates private equity just yesterday was saying, private equity has come for everything, but at least you can still go to a college football game.
I don't know.
Again, so how do we think they're gonna? It sounds like they effectively sold for $500 million. They just sold.
Yeah.
You remember it was Chicago, I think, sold all their streets or their parking meters.
Oh, yeah.
To some sovereign.
Yeah.
Back in the day. It was like for 75 years.
Yeah. So, the big thing is that you got to get the money correct. You got to get the deal right.
Yeah. So they basically buy a college team.
Yeah.
You can say that it's some more sophisticated structure than that, but effectively that's what happened.
Yeah.
They'll have to immediately put DraftKings or prediction market logos all over the helmet and all over the jersey. So that's probably like a $50 million new revenue line that the college could never do.
Yeah.
What else they could?
So the current mascot for the University of Utah is Swoop, a red-tailed hawk.
That's pretty cool.
They could change it to Drafty.
Drafting off the airways. Okay, so another thing they could increase if you want season tickets to the game and you're a student.
Yeah.
They could, of course, they're going to jack up the prices. They're probably going to make it like $20,000 a year.
Let me steel man this. You're being too negative here.
$20,000 a year, and they're going to offer the private equity firm can bring a private credit partner into the mix and help finance the season tickets. So you don't just graduate with student debt.
Yeah.
You actually graduate with game day debt that will stay with you for decades.
It's ridiculous. I mean, there are so many reasonable ways to monetize a football team over the entire life of ownership for this firm.
They could sell the windshield.
Yes, it's very funny to sell everything. But there is something that actually could be very good for academics at this school, because if you have $500 million in cash, you can go and build a new library, a new science lab. You can go build like actual academic buildings. Yes, you don't really need to, and you don't need to worry about like, okay, we got this donor. Somebody went to the University of Utah. They hit it big. They're a billionaire. They want to donate $500 million, but you know what? They just like football, so they're going to build us a new stadium. And you're like, but wait, wasn't the point of this whole thing, unrestricted gifts? Wasn't the point academics? And that might be less of an issue now. So they might be able to fund more great academic activities and endeavors with this money. So I don't know. It's very funny to make fun of. It's very funny to riff on. But there are some potentially really good outcomes that could happen. Anyway, we have our next guest in the Restream waiting room. We have Emil Michael, the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering of the United States. Emil, good to see you. Merry Christmas. How are you doing?
Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the time. You look fantastic.
Yeah, I would say thank you for wearing the suit, but unlike a lot of our guests, this is a daily driver, I'm sure.
Yes.
Well, we were buying a high school football team today, so I had to dress up.
Oh, nice. That would be a real treat. Well, you're not. Is it fair to say that you're buying Gemini? Are you buying tokens, or is this one of those deals where the partnership is structured so that it's not really a major cash infusion for Google, or it's not a burden on the taxpayer? It's a little bit more of just two great American institutions working together. How are you framing the deal?
It's making to 3 million Department of War employees, that includes military members and civilians, access to Google Gemini on our network, which is a private network, right? So you actually have to port it over.
Okay.
And they gave us a great deal for the first year. It's like 47 cents. So, so they're very patriotic. I'm super excited to have that in the hands of everyone at the Department of War. It's never happened before.
Yeah. Were there historical examples that you were pulling from, because I imagine that service members have been Googling things for a long time. I've heard stories about, even during the war in the Middle East, the war on terror, they were using Google Maps just to see satellite imagery. And there were a whole host of reasons why a warfighter might want to use a Google product. Is this a new structure? Are you building on the shoulders of giants? Do you feel like when you came in there, the Department of War had a good reference point for how to work with a big tech company like Google? Or was it sort of new territory? How did you think about actually interfacing with Google?
It's entirely new territory, right? Because you could get those apps off the App Store or on a web browser. So to get AI in, there's a lot of sort of fear about AI, what it could do. And then you have to remember, when you're doing a Google search, it kind of records where you're searching. But if you're putting stuff in AI, you don't want that to leak back into the model. So you have to architect it in a unique way. So it's kind of new territory. And we did it all in 3 months.
That's amazing. Wow. What did the team on the Google side look like? Is this? I imagine that they have a large team just for working with the government. You mentioned a few. It was a few weeks of work. But what did they bring to bear to actually deliver this on their side?
They had a ton of engineers because you got to put it, in our networks, which are not simple, right? And you have 3 million people all over the world, all kinds of devices and so on. So they really brought the heat, right? They had for launch, they had a room, or a war room, if you will, no pun intended, and as did we, to make sure that it launched correct. We got a lot of flack on Twitter today.
Well, because I saw these comments, but it was very obvious if you used one brain cell that you needed to be on an actual approved device on a military network if you wanted to access the service. So I didn't get the flack.
Yeah, well, people want to give flack just to give flack, right? So,
well, I think some people wanted to try it out themselves, and it's like, well, if you want to do that, you can become a service member.
Yeah, we put a link on the error message a few hours ago for job openings at the Department of War if they want to join, so they get access to Gemini for government. We're open for business.
Yeah, what else have been the highlights of the year? As you look back on the year, obviously confirmation took time, but then there was this big White House AI action plan. What are some key moments that you feel like have been maybe under discussed or didn't get enough appreciation at the time?
There have been 3 AI executive orders, which is a big deal, right? And Jensen said the other day that no other administration has ever done this much for the AI companies. So we're really championing like these 4 national champions, right? Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, and XAI, and giving them, like, we're talking about, data centers on military land. We're talking about how do we get more power to these companies, because it's a race, and I think we're the first group in the last 6 months to really realize that we better get better and stay great and ahead of everyone else on this, because it's really the next generation of tech.
On the subject of data centers on military bases or land, what kind of comps have you looked at on that side? I know there's like historically in weapons manufacturing, you have like GOCOs, which seem like, they would provide some framework, but how have you thought about that?
We haven't thought about that yet. We haven't broken ground yet or to the business models. We just had the executive order said we're going to do it. And then we got to figure out how do you prioritize who gets what, right? And we may reserve some of that data center capacity just for the government to use for our own purposes. But the point was to send a message that we're all in on AI companies, all in on the data center power chip needs of these companies in a way that the last administration, we think, was just trying to constrain everything with these orders to really have one company win and that's it, so they can control sort of the outputs. We're going the other way. We're going to have all the national champions. We're going to support them all the way. David Sachs is out there making sure the American tech stacks and all of the, as many other countries as it can be. Yeah. And that's a big deal, right? It's, if anyone's going to be using AI, we want them to be on our stack.
Yeah. How do you think about the fact that all of the big tech companies seem to be working with the United States government effectively for free, 47 cents. I've heard of deals of $1, as high as $1. But then I think back to, a few decades ago where Microsoft had a deal to develop virtual reality headsets, augmented reality headsets for the US government. And I think it was like a $10 billion deal. And I was really excited when that project went over to Anduril because it's a lot, younger, faster moving company. Now, I love Microsoft. I love them as a infrastructure provider. And the fact that they have OpenAI's IP is amazing. There's a ton of great things that Microsoft does, but developing an AR headset, that always felt like it was going to be a rough go. It was such a big burden on the taxpayer at $10 billion. Much better to see it in a different land in a different company. How are you thinking about how the government is working with big tech, when to open up the pocketbook and write $1 billion deal, or when to ask for 47 cents?
I think we want these companies to be successful, so we're going to pay them market rates eventually. It's just, how do you get out of the gate? And you get out of the gate by like giving 3 million people access and not having to worry about like a token count every day, right? And then that's exciting to them because now they get 3 million more customers, right? And they get to learn use cases and so on. So it kind of works for them, works for us, but we need to pay them fair rates, but they're going to be commercial.
Yeah. And I imagine that they're like, when a new technology comes up, like, Gemini, there's just a lot of service members that are just, not by no fault of their own, just like accidentally using it a little bit too cavalierly. And this is an initiative to actually refocus on security, refocus on privacy. But can you take me through some of the, I'm not particularly worried about Google having, information from the American warfighter, but I am worried about some of the international chat bots having access to the American warfighters' prompts. Can you take me through how the Department of War is thinking about LLMs like DeepSeek, Alibaba, these other AI models? Are those just banned everywhere? How do you think about actually, banning different vectors of attacks from a security perspective?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, we're going to train. Everyone is going to train if they want to use it for like, higher risk use cases, right? Sure. But this is going to be on their devices, just like the web browser is, and they can still search Google. But when it comes to the foreign companies like DeepSeek and Chinese, like in the bill that was just released by Congress, I think yesterday, we're going to ban, DeepSeek and all these foreign models from use by DOW members and contractors and anyone who touches it, because last thing we want is for those models to get data on how we're using AI, right? That would be a tragic mistake. So I think we're already there, but it's gonna be in law pretty soon.
Yeah.
What's your pitch to talent to come work with the Department of War, specifically in AI? It's like the craziest talent war of our lifetimes, most likely. You're trying to recruit people that can go get I don't know, anything from $1 million a year to $100 million a year to $1 billion, even up
There's
to
some people who make
more.
literally $1 billion.
And so I imagine you have to have a pretty dialed in pitch to recruit people, and maybe that pitch is you're going to be able to work on. I mean, the H200 news today says that we aren't the H200 is not like a F-35. It's not military technology yet, but I'm sure there's a pitch to work with you and your team on actually applied AI in a military context. But how do those conversations go?
Yeah, so I call them recruiting Tuesdays, right? I spend all afternoon Tuesdays calling, dialing for dollars, emailing, referencing, interviewing, and my whole team does that. And like the pitches, okay, you have to have some patriotic instinct, obviously. But then maybe you're in between companies or you're just motivated. I mean, Elon has 5 companies and he still worked for the government for like 7 months and brought a ton of Doge people who are motivated by the mission. So I'm trying to motivate people by, hey, this is the biggest technology deployment in the world. There is no bigger organization than the Department of War. There's no more exquisite, crazy, interesting use cases, whether they're intelligence, war fighting, even corporate use cases. And you get to be a part of creating that. It's never been done before. It's a pretty good pitch. And then when you leave the Department of War and you've done that, I think you get more valuable in the private sector, right? All these big AI companies now have big federal businesses. They all have sort of cooperating with like the government in different ways, and you have another notch on your belt of good stuff that you've done and been an innovator on, which is pretty rare in government to like literally innovate while you're sitting in the job on something that's never been done before that's that big.
Yeah, how do you think about the different levels of AI diffusion, AI integration, where AI can actually help the warfighter in the American context? I mean, a lot of people kind of watched the Palantir story evolve over the last few decades, this idea of analytics, just putting dots on a map sometimes, that being enough to identify where an enemy threat might be, for example. How do you think about integrating AI from the most mundane use cases of just speeding up a little bit of paperwork here and there to some of the bigger questions that will be ultimately face the warfighters of today?
Yeah, I mean, imagine like the most simple use case is just like any big an employee in any big organization, right?
Yeah.
It's writing PowerPoints for you, writing job descriptions, like making spreadsheets, the basics.
Yeah.
Then there's like the cool intelligence use cases. Imagine that we've got decades of satellite imagery, decades of that, or sensors that we've had, or all kinds of things. And now you could, instead of one human analyst having to go like, I think I see that there, you can go back through 50 years, train a model, and say, look for things you've never seen before, right?
Yep.
And then on warfighting, logistics, planning, all kinds of simulations. If you want to simulate a war game in a really incredible way with all the data and all the stuff in there. So it's like pretty compelling, and exquisite to mundane that you could do with this stuff when you deploy it the right way.
Yeah, how do you think about this partnership with Google? It feels very much like giving almost the consumer product of Gemini to everyone in the military. How are you thinking about larger projects that might require bringing together custom code, multiple systems, multiple pieces? Just as a consumer, we're running into things where Anthropic might be better for coding and one day, and the Nano Banana is better for this, and ChatGPT is good for deep research. And if you want to build a business, we see a lot of startups pull 3 different models off the shelf. Is that something you're starting to look at as like a phase 2 of AI integration into the military?
Yeah, so ideally we'll have all 4 models.
Yeah.
And all 4 of the newest versions. Like all the time at every classification level.
Wow.
And the reason you want to go up through the classification levels is so you could do more exquisite work, right? More complicated stuff. And then the reason you want all models is just what you said. If you're trying to write code, maybe you want to use Claude. If you're trying to do these other things. So as they compete, we want to benefit from it. And we've never had that here before. So it's trying to consumerize it, give choice, but then give more and more capabilities as you go up the chain of of security classification.
Yeah. Who owns the data? Does the taxpayer own the data? Does the government own the data? I see a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, this company now owns it. Google's going to have your government data. Google's going to have the data. It seems like they might be storing the data in some points, but they don't have authority over it. How do you frame to like the American who's maybe worried about government overreach or wants to understand where important, critical military data is living? Who has control? Who has final say?
Yeah, so taxpayers own the government. Government owns the data on behalf of the taxpayers. Google does not own it. We control it.
Yeah.
It doesn't leave our control. And that's why it was complicated to actually launch, right? Because AI models are built so that they learn as you continue to query them, right? And to make it such that the model, we got the latest model, and it took in queries, but then the learnings from that don't go back into the general model.
Yep.
Is a form of making sure that the American taxpayers' data doesn't leak anywhere else and is just used for the purpose it was intended.
Yeah.
100%. How many other organizations globally, allies, things like that, need to take on a project like this? Like, it feels like clearly it's very important to move quickly, because if 3 million people can't use the latest AI models in a secure way, that it's not super sustainable. They'll eventually, go elsewhere to get these products. Do you think a lot of other kind of groups need to, pursue a project like this? And are you guys trying to help create kind of a framework so others can benefit?
Yeah, I mean, so we all know, and you guys know, any large organization needs to be using AI just for efficiency purposes, right? And just, dollars and cents. If your competitors, showing more profit in Q1 relative to you because they have too much overhead that could be solved with AI, you're going to be in trouble. So when you talk about governmental organizations, should every government be using it in some degree? Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like an economic imperative, but it's like a strength imperative too. It's sort of like, the way I describe it to people is you're opening the human context window. So we're not replacing a warfighter, but we're allowing the warfighter to do more with the same amount of time, right? To analyze more intelligence, to do more scenario planning and all that. So I can't imagine any other organization like ours that wouldn't be thinking about this. But hopefully, I think we are setting the pace here. We're going to be the pace setter here for the U.S. government and for governments around the world.
I love it. Well, thank you for setting the pace. Thank you also for coming on the show today. This is fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have you, and thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Yes.
On
Good
behalf
to see you guys.
of
Thanks for having me
every
on.
citizen. Come back on anytime.
Anytime.
Always welcome.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Have a good
Nice
one.
meal.
Goodbye.
Cheers.
Let me tell you about Profound. Get your brand mentioned in ChatGPT. Reach millions of consumers who use AI to discover new products and brands. Patrick Collison had a post that hit the timeline, rocked the timeline with 1.3 million views. He says, 2 conversations this weekend make me think that there's a vibe shift afoot in Silicon Valley around what one should work on and what is worthwhile. Culturally, it feels like the moment is ripe for new frameworks. 1, Davos expert morality is stale and discredited.
Up, Let's give it up for the experts. Joe Rogan, Andrew Huberman.
Yeah,
Lex Friedman,
those guys don't podcast from
Ferriss.
Davos. They're not Davos guys.
It's very possible the next Davos could just be a round table between Joe Rogan, Andrew Huberman.
Yes.
The real experts.
Chris Williams,
modern
Lex
experts.
Friedman. We'd love that. That would be fantastic. It's also apparent that the, quote, just be super based counter enlightenment is not really an answer. Yes, woke went too far, but simply inverting it does not work. Good point. Effective altruism is no longer the automatic default for smart people. They pushed it too far. They tried to save too many shrimp from their farming fates, and now they are cooked.
Sorry, shrimp.
There is increasing skepticism of slot and slop machine dynamics. People don't want to work on a slot machine. They don't want to work on a slop machine. They want to work on something worthy and valuable. The question is overall, what is worthy and valuable? It feels like this question is becoming more central. What do you think is worthy and valuable?
I think it's worthy and valuable that OpenAI hired Slack CEO Denise Dresser as Chief Revenue Officer. It's a scoop. It's happening right now.
Wait, what?
OpenAI has hired Slack CEO Denise Dresser as Chief Revenue Officer.
That really flipped me for a second because they have a CFO, they have a CEO of applications. I don't know where CRO fits in, but they got someone, and that's very exciting. Is that gong worthy?
I think it's very gong worthy. And in other news, we got some new SpaceX news from Bloomberg. The chat had it first. Thank you guys. We were in the middle of chatting with Emil. But SpaceX plans to go public at a $1.5 trillion valuation, up from the rumored $800 billion just last week. They plan to raise $30 billion, raising, I guess, far above $30 billion. Anyways, so this is reporting SpaceX is moving ahead with plans for an IPO that would seek to raise significantly more than $30 billion in a transaction that would make it the biggest listing of all time. I'll hit this. The Elon-led company is targeting valuation of above $1.5 trillion for the entire company, which would leave SpaceX near the market value that Saudi Aramco established during its record 2019 listing. The oil major raised $29 billion at the time. SpaceX's management and advisors are pursuing a listing as soon as mid to late 2026. The timing of the IPO could change based on market conditions. Let's hope the window stays open, folks. We will do our best to hold it open.
We will.
I hate when the IPO window is closed. But anyways, no comments from the SpaceX team. But they, junk bond analyst says, of course, congratulations on saying the biggest number. Always great when you can say the biggest number.
Yeah.
So do you think that the timing here with Gavin going on about space data centers is just a coincidence, or is this part of a allocator conspiracy?
I still believe the Primac take that Elon has run the A/B test on public companies, and Tesla was miserable, SpaceX was great, and so you want to stay private as long as possible. Funding is not drying up for SpaceX by any means. There's no real requirement to go public. There's no reason why he has to take that company public. I don't know why stuff is leaking right now. It might just be some sort of head fake, but it doesn't seem critical to me. I don't know.
Certainly doesn't seem critical that they go public.
It's very
I would just say
different
you have two major leaks in the span of a week.
Yeah. It's just very different than the OpenAI thing, where OpenAI, like, in order to win, they need to like marshal all this capital. They need to, become GPU rich. They need the GPU prices to fall. They need energy to get cheaper. They need everyone to do everything. They need everyone to get in line. Whereas SpaceX is very much like established. They have their supply chain set up. They've been in this business for 20 years. They're just like cooking and compounding, and I just don't see a need for them to marshal more capital or do anything really special. It does seem like there's something going on with, like, okay, we're talking about a second, third act here, but at the same time, it's not like Elon needs to take this company public. I don't know. Do you think he does?
No, a lot of great companies don't need to go public, but there's still a lot of reasons to go public.
Yeah.
So it would certainly be exciting.
It would certainly be exciting, and I think it would be a good, like, it would just be there's a lot of people that are into space and can't get any allocation into space generally. They just can't participate in the economic upside.
AST Mobile.
That's it. But you can't.
EchoStar.
Yeah, EchoStar is the hold cub.
I wonder. This is the market's closed now, but I wonder, EchoStar, which owns, I think it's 12 billion of SpaceX stock.
Yeah, I wonder what that's doing.
Up 6% today.
Well,
but it's been fluctuating.
So I mean, back to the Patrick Collison.
A lot at the close.
Back to the Patrick Collison post. Like, what is worthy and what's valuable? Like, I still honestly feel like SpaceX is one of the worthiest and most valuable missions. And in terms of just, it has no slot machine dynamic. It does not create slop. It I don't know. It seems above enlightenment, counter-enlightenment, woke, super base. Like, yes, Elon runs it, but just as a company, just the idea of like, let's go to the moon, let's go to space. That should be apolitical. It doesn't even have the Davos expert morality impact on the environment. It's just like one of the purest missions, in my opinion. And I feel like the reason I think there's something interesting about what Patrick is saying here, where there is this highly worthy, highly valuable mission, but there's only 5,000 people that can really play in that game. Maybe like 10,000 or something. Like, it's just not a career path in America. It's not like I'm going into real estate. I'm going into legal. I'm going into medicine. I'm going into lawyer. Yes.
Going into big oil.
You can't just say I'm going into the orbital economy. I'm studying and I'm gonna, maybe I'll work at SpaceX, but there's a whole host, and like you can go into tech. It's very accessible. You can just like go and get a job in tech. It's very hard to do that in space and make a career.
I don't know.
It's nowhere near as easy as it is for tech, because tech broadly.
I just say you go into aerospace engineering, and then you have you have optionality.
It's very hard
to try to land a job at a true space company, or you can.
So yes, but what if you're not cut out to actually go do aerospace? What if your actual skill set is marketing? Well, you can go and be a marketer in tech. You can't go and be a marketer in space. It just doesn't happen. They hire like 2 marketers.
Okay.
There's no marketers.
But why is that?
So what I'm saying is that this question.
You're saying we need a federal backstop on marketing jobs in the orbital economy.
No.
I just don't see what the problem is.
No. What I'm saying is that there's a vibe shift, because so Patrick Collison is asking the question, what is worthy? What is valuable? What is a valuable mission? And I'm saying, I know what a valuable mission is. Going to Mars, going to the moon. SpaceX is a valuable mission. But 99% of people can't participate in that. They can't make that their life's work, because if they're not cut out to be aerospace engineers, aerospace designers, if that's not what they're great at, they just can't participate. Whereas in previous eras, like tech was organizing the world's information, don't be evil. It was just cool. Tech was the mission. Tech was the thing that was worthy and valuable. And so you could show up and say, I'm a finance guy. I got a job in tech. I'm a lawyer. I work in tech. I'm a marketer. I work in tech. No matter what your actual skill set was, you could come to technology, the technology industry, and have a career. And you can't do that in the orbital economy yet. You can't do that in space, because there just aren't that many jobs. And so I think there is something that's worthy and valuable. It's just not able to absorb the actual demand for worthy and valuable career paths. And so for a lot of the marketers, for a lot of the lawyers, for a lot of the financiers, they wind up being forced to work in slot machine companies or slop machine companies, because those are the ones that have the jobs. They have 10,000 jobs available. I don't know. That's sort of a hot take.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think you could also make the argument that many people are looking at jobs at, say, like a Boom Supersonic, and they're just making the choice to work at the infinite slot machine company.
That's fair. Well, hopefully they'll read Patrick Collison's post. They'll say, what's worthy and valuable? I got to work for Boom Supersonic. I got to work for Blake Scholl, who's our next guest. So while we bring him in from the Restream waiting room, let me tell you about GetBezel.com. Shop over 26,000 luxury watches, fully authenticated in-house by Bezel's team of experts. We have Blake Scholl. Look at Blake Scholl. Wow. Whoa. He is in a jet. Oh, yeah, he can fly. I forgot. You can fly, right?
Hang on, guys. I got to shut the engines down.
This is crazy. What is going on here? Wow, look at this. It's been a complete rat race to try and put on the most insane performance during a TBPN interview.
You did it.
I think this is going to take the cake. Blake, how are you doing? Introduce yourself. What's going on today?
Hey, guys. It's good to see you. Thank you for having me. It's a big day at Boom.
This is a huge day at Boom.
This is
amazing. Look at this.
Happy.
Okay, where are we? Take us through this.
So we are in the Boom Supersonic factory.
Okay.
This, of course, is the XB-1 airplane. This is the airplane that broke the speed of sound in January.
Wow.
The airplane that resulted in supersonic flight being legal again in the U.S.
Amazing.
So it's blown wide open. But a year ago we were joking that it would be way easier to fund this company if we were an AI company. We were laughing.
Yes, I think we talked about that on the show. That's right.
Yes, it turns out we are. So the engine that we're building, that we've been building for almost 4 years now to power our Overture supersonic airliner, makes the perfect ground power turbine for AI. And so that's today's news. We've got a product called Superpower, 42 megawatts, natural gas. It's going into data centers. Crusoe is our launch customer. We're going to be generating tokens and quiet sonic booms.
That's amazing.
So you guys want to see the factory?
Absolutely.
Give us a tour.
Give us a tour.
So one of the things that anybody building in hard tech learns quickly is that the legacy aerospace supply chain is just really screwed up. Mm-hmm. And so we are building this factory to go from raw materials in one side of the building and completed jet engines at the other side. So this is some of the raw material that's just come in. This is 17 pH hardened stainless steel. It's heat treated. This is what they call the hot stuff. And I missed the gym this morning, so
there you go. Getting it
do
in.
a little bit here.
Fantastic.
But this is going to turn into stage 5 stator vanes that go inside the separating engine and the superpower gas turbine. So one of the most amazing, surprising things is the technology that is ideal for supersonic passenger flight is actually the same thing you need to power a data center.
Yeah.
So this is Elon pioneered this at Colossus. Sam's doing the same thing at Stargate. These large arrays of what are called aeroderivative jet engines, and it's like they're like the blade servers of the energy world. I put a lot of them in an array, and just the same way blade servers beat mainframes, aeroderivative turbines could beat mainframe gas turbines. So let's talk about how they work. This is a 1/3 scale model of our engine. It works on a complicated principle: suck, squeeze, bang, blow. All right, so let's break that down. Air comes in this way. This thing spins, super high RPM, compresses. You can see the blades get smaller as you go in, getting air down to about a 20-to-1 compression ratio. Burners in here, this can run on jet fuel, can also run on natural gas, just with a different fuel nozzle, and it goes out the back here. So the model you're looking at here is what powers the airplane. The model that powers AI is very similar. We basically take the fan off the front, we lose these 2 turbine stages, and then we add what's called a free power turbine on the back. 3 stages that extract energy, spin a second shaft, and that powers a 42 megawatt generator.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the vision here is we're going from raw materials on one side of the building, completed engines at the other side. The facility we're standing in now is going to do the first 200 megawatts over the next about 18 months.
That's pretty significant.
And then we're building a much larger factory that's to be able to do 2 gigawatts a year. And we're just going to scale from there.
Wow.
So let's go inside the shop.
Yeah. And this is all on the back of it was seen as controversial that Boom did not just white label another engine from another company, correct? And now it's sort of come back to benefit you. Is that the correct narrative?
I think that's correct. I mean, people called us crazy to not outsource our engine. Frankly, I was a little bit nervous about it. How is this really going to go? It's the best decision we ever made. We're getting a fully custom engine for about a quarter of the development cost.
Sure.
It enables things like boomless cruise. Could not do boomless without our own engine.
Sure.
It enables a totally new passenger experience. Haven't revealed it yet.
Yep.
And then I think the most important thing is we can now take that same engine core, put a power turbine on it, and get to profitability years faster than otherwise we could have. And this makes basically Superpower makes not just electricity, it makes capital. And it makes the capital that finances the capital expensive development of the Overture passenger airliner. So let me walk you around the shop here. So this is basically the first unit of what we will copy paste into the facility that will do 2 gigawatts per year. What are jet engines made of? Well, you've got big round things. And actually, if you look inside this machine here, this is called a turn mill. This machine weighs 65,000 pounds. And spinning on it right now is a 4,000-pound donut of cast Inconel, and that's a nickel alloy. So this is a relatively hard alloy. This is going to be the turbine center exhaust frame. This is the first very large part that we're machining in-house. So big round things. Then you've also got discs with blades all around them. It's called blisks. These are some of the hardest to make parts. And so we have started what we call the Blitzkrieg. And this machine here is actually a more than 5-axis mill. So this will hold a disc of forged titanium or forged powder metal superalloy. And then the disc will kind of rotate in and out like this while another cutter head comes down and basically sculpts each individual compressor blade out of metal. So we ultimately we're going to have a whole bunch of these machines cranking out discs. Over here on the other side, this is part of an automated production line for compressor blades. So to give you an example of this is the what's called the stage 1 variable guide vane. So this goes in the front part of the compressor section of the engine. These actually move as the engine changes power settings to have the optimal airflow. And this machine here starts with that bar stock, those kind of heavy beams I was showing you outside in the hangar floor. It comes in on this feeder in one side, gets held in the machine. The cutter head comes over, cuts it away. Another gripper comes over, grabs it, machines the backside. A robotic arm comes in, grabs it, puts it on the table, we start the next one. So this thing is ultimately going to be able to run 24/7 building engine parts.
Quick questions about the factory. Where are we? Where is this factory and how big is it overall, square footage roughly?
Yeah, so this building is about 70,000 square feet. It is 5 minutes from our engineering HQ in South Denver. And we're about to open early next year another factory that is 3 times the size of this one. And that's what's going to be able to do 2 gigawatts a year.
Yeah.
So what are the key challenges now? This feels hard, but maybe more straightforward than supersonic commercial flight. Like what are you guys?
Maybe less approvals.
Yeah, exactly. But have like massive demand. What are kind of like the key challenges that you and the team are looking out for to be able to deliver on the timeline that you were talking about?
Yeah. So after having done a boomless supersonic jet that was safety critical with a pilot on board, this feels like doing it on easy mode. Literally, XB1 had 68,000 parts. 68,000 parts, and they're all safety critical. The turbine has less than 2,000. And so there's going to be a lot of challenge in getting that to work, getting to work reliably, getting manufacturing up to scale. But after having done XB1, it feels like easy mode. We've got customers that are going to take as much as we can possibly make, as fast as we can make it. We've got the capital to go do that.
How much capital?
$300 million. And
congratulations.
Thank you. After basically continuously fundraising for about a decade, I can't tell you how good it feels to have raised the round that lets us ship the revenue product that then produces the cash to fund the rest of the stuff. So we're done fundraising. This is the last equity round we ever have to do.
Let's go.
That's incredible.
That's
How was
amazing.
the first night's sleep after you closed the round? Did you I imagine that was a pretty surreal moment, even though you're still just getting started. I would say people are going to be a natural concern is like, does this mean we're not going to get the supersonic commercial aircraft? You obviously, I haven't lost any faith. This feels like an intelligent move in order to enable that future, basically buy the company time to get us to that point. But what do you have to say to anybody that might be wavering?
Yeah, no, if you want supersonic passenger flight to exist, you should be very, very excited about this. Is that the single biggest challenges we had were, how do we prove that we have a reliable engine, and where do we get all the money to do it? And running this thing on the ground proves the engine is reliable, and it literally prints the cash that we need to go develop the airplane. So I think this takes us from less than 50% chance of success to a far greater chance of success. Like, I think Overture supersonic flight is basically inevitable at this point. And some people are saying like, oh, Blake got lost. I'm going to be, I'm just going to become an energy guy. And it's like, guys, I didn't bust my ass for 10 years in order to only make power turbines. I'm very excited about the power turbine business. America needs it. We're losing to China. We really need this. But this is absolutely our bridge to the even bigger opportunity to just reinvent all of commercial aviation.
It's awesome.
Makes a lot of sense. From a like looking at the existing sort of like turbine landscape, a lot of them have supply chain challenges. Is part of Boom's edge that you guys are so used to making all of your own componentry and parts that you basically effectively just need the raw materials and you can make stuff happen. How are you kind of avoiding maybe some of the other delays that legacy manufacturers are experiencing?
Yeah, well, I think you named it. Being able to build our own parts is huge, and the room I'm standing in here does not exist at GE, does not exist at Rolls-Royce. In the sort of Jack Welch era of everyone getting focused on return on net assets. By the way, what a random metric. They all sold off their supply chains.
Yeah.
And they can't make anything anymore. And now we hire like disaffected engineers out of Pratt, out of GE, and they were like, holy Toledo. We can resolve in an hour what used to take us 3 weeks or 3 months to do at our last companies because they didn't have access to hardware. And if they ever wanted to change anything, it's really hard to change. So that's actually one of the biggest innovations here is what we're doing is we're trying to make the world of atoms more like the world of bits. And you can iterate, you can evolve, you can change. And part of that is about taking software engineers, putting them on hardware engineering teams, and automating design workflows. So that means we can like change digital designs really quickly when we learn. The other piece is how quickly can we turn a part. Like if we take a turbine blade and we send it to a traditional supplier to be made, it's going to take 6, maybe 9 months for us to get that part back going from digital design to hardware. What that means is if you're the engineer designing it and you get it wrong, like it's really bad. You've set the whole company back 6, 9 months. So now there's a lot of hand wringing. Now there's analysis paralysis. Now you got to have layers of managers double checking everything. Now you're really slow. But if you build that part in-house, you can actually turn a turbine blade in 24 hours with a 3D print process, heat treat, braze, get it out into the engine. So what we can do is iterate really quickly. So we're liberating engineers to move really fast because if they make a mistake, if they want to do an iteration, we can turn it in days or hours in the same building that they work in.
That's super powerful.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
That was great. Was that accidental? I don't know. I love it. I love it. Is there anything that you've been tracking on the regulation side that you think needs to change? We were talking about making boomless crews legal, removing speed limits for high-speed travel. If you were to wave a magic wand, is there anything that you'd change around energy production in America today to accelerate reindustrialization and everything?
It's much bigger than energy production. We have a huge problem that I think not enough people are talking about, which was we have a permission-based approach to building, not a freedom to innovate approach to building. So like if we drove to work the way we build buildings or permit energy plants, you'd have to go file a plan. You have to list out exactly what turns you're going to take. You're going to promise that you're going to stop at every stop sign, not run through any red lights, always drive the speed limit. And then some bureaucrat's going to sign off on that. And then finally you can drive to work. It's insane. Yeah. That's the way we build a building. That's the way we build a power plant. I think we need to go from permission-based, which just inserts huge delays and huge costs, to, hey, we're going to have a rule book. We're going to have commonplace rules. And then you can pledge to follow them. And if you break them, then then you get fined or you get in trouble or you get your permits taken away. But I think we have to really get rid of the entire concept of market pre-approvals if we want to move fast. It's really holding America up right now. It's the biggest problem with building anything physical.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you guys hiring at all right now?
We're hiring as fast as we can find great people. So in fact,
I figured.
In fact, I'll plug this if you'll let me. If you go to boomsupersonic.com/referral and you send us somebody great, we're looking for great engineers, hardware, software, mechanical, propulsion, everything, technicians, CNC machinists. It's hard to find enough great CNC machinists. Send us somebody. We will send you a free Overture desktop model if we end up hiring that person.
I love it.
That's very cool.
That's very cool.
Well, this has been the best hard tech tour we've ever gotten. We've had a number of people attempt what you just did. It always goes poorly. There was it's a high stakes.
Lag. It's very high stakes because like anything can go wrong with like your Wi-Fi or anything. I'm very impressed. This was amazing, and honestly, it was just like chilling, watching, learning. This was really awesome. Normally I have to ask way more questions to get information, but this was really informative.
I'm so excited for you and the team.
Yeah.
Put together a
and
great group of
what
investors.
A crazy story. I mean, I'm sure like the job's not finished. The book has not been written, but I mean, I've followed your career for a long time, and you're on an amazing run, doing amazing things. So we appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us.
Appreciate your having me and making this so much fun. Thank you, guys.
Course. Have a great rest of your day. And Merry Christmas.
Cheers to the whole team.
Talk to you soon.
Merry Christmas. Over and out.
Goodbye.
Over and out.
8sleep.com. Exceptional sleep without exception. You close the $300 million round. You need to sleep on an 8sleep. Fall asleep faster. Sleep deeper. Wake up energized. If you're trying to build a 42 megawatt natural gas turbine while working on a supersonic jet, you definitely need a good night's sleep.
I want my 8sleep to be powered by a natural gas turbine.
100%.
I want to just give me a mini boom turbine for my bedroom.
Yes.
Please. Just a small one.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be full scale.
Yeah.
But just something small that I can really rely on.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah, it is weird. The 8sleeps, you plug it into the wall, it's electric. You could get a diesel. A diesel version. You just fill it up with a little bit of diesel, and then you pull start it like a lawnmower,
and just leave the window open.
Yeah.
So there's some
it
air
flows
exchange,
out. Yeah. I mean the exhaust needs to like kind of flow out of the house, but
or you could wear a mask and just run a
well, that could be diesel powered too.
Exactly.
You have a diesel powered sleep
that's
apnea
pulling
mask
air out.
That's pulling
from
air
outside.
from the outside.
That's fresh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you have a diesel motor running in. You can put your whole house
on your face.
Diesel,
your face is potentially
kind
of vibrating, but
it'd be good.
You can see it.
Well, people are starting to talk some trash about the old Meta Superintelligence Lab.
Who?
0.005 seconds says it's now painfully obvious that Meta Superintelligence Lab went on a massive hiring spree, promised the world, and delivered absolutely nothing. There has been a mass exodus. I feel like Alex Wang was a colossal mishire. When is Zuck going to clean house and admit his mistake?
Let him cook.
Let him cook.
Let him cook. I was the first one.
Early.
I was the first one to say that Meta Vibes should never have been released or at least advertised publicly. I think it was definitively just not a good product.
Yep.
But let them cook. Let them cook. Again, the mistake is like people are going to judge the first thing that your new organization releases. It felt rushed.
Yeah.
It looked bad in comparison to Sora. But we need to see the next version of Llama. I'm sure they'll call it something else. But give them more than
what should they actually
give them
do
more
on
than
the product
6 months.
Side? Like Google has been able, Gemini, I feel like has been able to carve out a really unique position with Nano Banana. And like it went viral, and this was Anjnay's at Andreessen at the time, Anjnay Midha's like take about like the Empire Strikes Back. And I have found that like, having the best video model is a reason for people to go to your app. Having the best audio model, the best photo model, the best deep research product.
Nano Banana is what the rotisserie chicken is to Costco. Nano Banana.
This is a great analogy. Great analogy.
Right? It's a loss leader. It's like come in, make a bunch of images. We're going to lose a lot of money, but we're going to get you hooked on our bread and butter. Our language model.
And so OpenAI has obviously developed just a great like back and forth chat experience. The voice mode is really dominant there. The deep research product.
It's really possible that Zuck wanted his true believers to be able to accumulate Meta shares at around the $1.5 trillion mark because he wants to reward his most loyal soldiers.
Potentially. Stammy here says, Limitless is acquired by Meta today. End to a lovely journey with Rewind and Limitless. And Ryan Jones says, Zuck is going on a generational run of max paranoid. Missing mobile really, really, really scared him because he just bought an AI wearable startup. He's still spending on the metaverse.
I think it's obvious that Meta is just going to keep shipping hardware. I think that the Limitless acquisition looked like a soft landing for a team that had proven that they can ship products. Again, they did that. I know they had customers because some of the customers were mad that Meta acquired them and they were talking about it. So, it shouldn't be a surprise. I don't think you can I think it's hard to argue that Meta should just ignore any forward-thinking product lines and just do.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the metaverse, we should watch this video of a robot that was clearly being teleoperated, absolutely destroying a water bottle. It's one of the craziest videos I've ever seen. This is like so insane. So the operator clearly takes. It feels like it should be AI or something. So
Daniel says the hand coming down with enough
it just
force to
explodes
explode a
the
water
bottle, which is not easy to do. If you just have a water bottle and you can't just rip that thing open. But the robot teleoperator takes the VR glasses off, and then the robot just falls backwards.
See ya.
Is this real?
Imagine having one of these hanging out.
It's comedic genius.
Imagine having
hilarious.
one of these hanging out in your office and it's just running bits all the time. Like its whole goal. I have kind of class clown energy in the office.
Yeah.
But if I could outsource that to Optimus and just be able to focus more on my work, and Optimus is just going around running bits. I mean that.
You know what we have to do? We have to get one of these robots that how so many of the robots are claiming like we're going to do your dishes. We're going to do your dishes. I want to just have we're going to all have a nice glass of wine. We're going to put 50 different wine glasses of all slightly different shapes on the table, and just tell the robot, hey, clean up the wine glasses. Just load them all in the dishwasher. I can barely do that.
I can barely do that without breaking.
Oh yeah, all the time I'm smashing these things. And you imagine one of these robots just completely decimating the.
Sure, I'll unload the dishwasher just in there.
No, please allow me. Allow me to unload your finest crystal stemware. Allow me to unload your stemware.
You discover an edge case where the robot thinks, well, to unload the dishwasher, I should break every glass and use a vacuum and just vacuum it out. Way easier than just taking them all out at once.
Oh, sorry, sir. Would you like me to polish your fine stemware?
I'll polish it into dust.
Polishes it into dust. Anyway, our next guest is in the Restream waiting room. First, let me tell you about AdQuick.com. Out-of-home advertising made easy and measurable. Plan, buy, and measure out-of-home with precision. We have Naveen Rao from Unconventional, CEO of Unconventional AI, in the Restream waiting room. Naveen,
welcome to the show.
Doing?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's jump right into an introduction on yourself, companies you built in the past, and then we'll get into Unconventional.
Yeah, so I was the first company I built in the AI space was called Nirvana. It was actually the first AI chip company. That was back in 2014, before most people knew what machine learning was.
Yeah, just a little pretty tough, little too early. But you're back.
I think it was actually decent timing, to be honest with you. But I think I sold too early, to be honest. The second company was actually moving more toward the software and algorithmic side, called Mosaic ML. Sold that to Databricks back in 2023. And I led AI at Databricks up until just a couple of months ago, where I left to start Unconventional.
Incredible. So yeah, jump right into it. Talk about the vision. I feel like you guys the perfect amount of controversy yesterday because people were latching on to not a seed round at a $500 million valuation, but a $500 million of capital invested at the seed round. It was honestly perfect. You want a little bit of spice on the timeline to get attention, and I'm sure there's been a ton of inbound interest both from the candidate side and future customers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was somewhat intentional. We wanted to have a big shocking moment, but I think it's actually pretty rational when you think about the opportunity ahead of us. So what we're doing at Unconventional is rethinking how a computer works. The computers that we use today, the fundamental abstractions have been around for nearly 80 years. And, it's kind of weird to think about in the tech industry, something being around for 80 years, but it really is true. And now we've come to the point where we've pushed that paradigm as far as we can push it. Fundamental constraints around energy are now hitting us at the global level. Like if we keep scaling AI like we're doing, I mean, I think AI is amazing. I use it all the time, and I think the rest of the world is going to do that too. We can't get there. We're going to run out of energy to scale these things up because it requires very power-hungry chips. So really, we're saying, can we rethink the paradigm actually from the circuit level up and build something that's vastly more efficient, like 1,000 times more efficient than what we've been building, and focus only on AI. We don't need to do accounting software and artillery calculations and all the things that traditional computers do. We'll let that be in the realm of digital machines. But can we build something that's much more efficient for the substrate of AI? And so the opportunity ahead of us, I think, is nearly infinite. And that's why the valuation actually can make some rational sense.
So what does your supply chain look like, or what do you think it will look like in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, when we started this project, there were two fundamental constraints I put on it. One is that we have to be able to solve the problem within 5 years, because this problem is going to hit us in 3 or 4 years, and we need to have a solution ready. Then at that point, when we have a solution, you can't have something that's like, I've solved the science problem, now what? We have to be able to manufacture it. So we have to have scalable manufacturing. So we believe we can solve this problem in a big way within 5 years that actually leverages the silicon ecosystem. So we do want to manufacture it on standard lithography techniques. Now,
interesting.
Some of
ASML could potentially be a partner in the next 5 years. Like they're not off the table.
Yeah, TSMC, we are talking with already. I was out in Taiwan just a few weeks ago for this purpose. And, it doesn't mean that's the be all end all. What we're doing is really building a new set of abstractions. Like a computer is built on a digital abstraction. Can we move away from that and actually move to something that is more amenable to using fundamental dynamics of the substrate? And if we can do that, we can actually open up the world to a whole new set of, potential substrates. Silicon is one of them, and maybe there'll be more exotic things. I've talked to folks who are building 3D printed circuits and all kinds of crazy stuff. And so I think the world is going to be very rich in the next 20 years in terms of new capabilities. Right now, we got to leverage what we have.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of leveraging what we have, I feel like there's been, movement from, NVIDIA GPUs are bust. Everyone's just doing that. Then we got some serious movement this year from AMD stepping it up. We got TPU, Trainium's looking pretty good. There's like these ASICs are doing well. There's a whole crop of ASIC startups that are saying, hey, we're going to bake the transformer right onto the silicon. They're going with TSMC. Can you help me understand how you were thinking about creating something that's higher performance, but still leaving enough flexibility to be able to actually work with whatever the next algorithmic paradigm looks like?
Yeah, I mean, one part of what we're doing is a very deep co-design. So we're not saying here's a transformer and it's immutable. We're not looking at it like that. The way you define the neural network itself is something that we're going to change and actually link to the hardware. And if you look at biology, there is no difference between the definition of the neural network and the physical substrate. They're one and the same. So the dynamics, the physics of those neurons actually gives you the algorithmic richness that you have. So we want to move more in that direction. It's not this abstraction on a digital machine, which is built out of numerics. All the machines that you highlighted just then, which all have a wonderful purpose, by the way, all work on the same fundamental abstraction. They all use bits to represent numbers, and those numbers represent weights that then are manipulated in some way to build a neural network. We're actually talking about building those sort of effective numerics on the physics, on the fundamental properties.
Do you have a view on we were reflecting on this Mark Benioff post earlier in the show. He was kind of making the argument that LLMs are going to commoditize, that, it's like hard disks and you're going to be able to move them around. There's not a lot of value or not a lot of lock-in at the, I got this bag of weights layer. And I'm wondering if you have a view on how the foundation model landscape will evolve over the next 5 years, because I want to know what your customer mix looks like, but you can kind of tie that together however you like.
Yeah, I mean, transformers are something that works really well today. We were able to scale it up. We were able to prove out that we can build synthetic systems that learn. I think that was enormous in the last several years, right? And actually not just that can learn, but can be useful. So now it's about, we can define what useful is. Now we have these quality metrics for what a token is. That actually has opened up a whole new world to me, in a sense, where I can say, well, as long as I can supply that quality, I don't really care if it's a transformer. I don't really care what it looks like. And if I can do so very cheaply and very fast, that's all I care about. So now we're really getting to this almost pure play supply of intelligence. That's what we want. So now if that's the abstraction, it's not about a transformer, it's about intelligence, and I can define that with some metrics. Now I can supply that in new ways. And so that's the way we're looking at it. I'm not looking at the world today. I'm looking at the world in 4 or 5 years in terms of a product.
Yeah. Can you break down more specifically what you expect your like kind of first initial customer cohorts to look like?
Yeah, I mean, the way we're going to see all of this stuff expressed is really much cheaper per token cost, like 1/500th the cost per token or something like that. And I think our cohort is really, at first, we're going to go after data center as the fundamental rollout. But anyone who's using intelligence for an application at that point, they're going to actually have probably strict requirements on what the capabilities of the models are, what the token quality is defined as. So when we have that metric, we can build toward it. We can say, okay, well, GPT-8 or whatever it is at that point gives me this, and is there a way I can recapitulate that in the kind of neural network we're defining? And the answer should be yes. And so we will have kind of strict specs in a way to build toward in terms of what that intelligence token really means. And so it's really our customer cohort will be anyone who's using AI as part of their application. And we want to supply that faster, cheaper, and eventually in a more ubiquitous way. I mean, personally, if I really want to look out there like 10 years, I think robotics are going to be huge. And I think robotics require us to solve this problem of bringing energy down drastically to actually have more processing on the bot itself. That's how we're really going to open up this world of autonomy. And so personally, I think that's where I'm really excited. Maybe that's just the kid in me excited about seeing that future, but I think that's where we're going to go.
What I mean, I know you talked a little bit about the size of the seed round, but can you help me understand a little bit more? $475 million is a ton of money. Is there like a bill that you see yourself paying where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna spend $200 million on this, or is it more like you're just going to be operating at the level of like, okay, we're burning $100 million a year on a lot of top engineers and AI scientists, and like it's just a big organization early, and you're just kind of jumping to growth stage company scale as fast as possible?
Not really that. So I don't anticipate the company becoming huge in terms of people.
Sure.
Call it 80 to 100 people. A steady state for a while.
Yeah.
But much like a frontier lab spends a bunch of money on GPUs to iterate.
Yep.
Like training GPT-5, maybe $30 million, but you got to follow a bunch of dead ends.
Totally.
Right? And you do that with GPU compute. Our version of that is actually building hardware.
Okay.
So we're going to be fabricating chips. We're going to be trying different things. It's very hard to model some of this stuff actually numerically. And we're going to do our best to model it, scale up that modeling actually on GPUs. But at the end of the day, you got to build it, you got to test it, and you got to see if the whole thing works end to end. And we're going to do that a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
How are you planning to actually use existing Gen AI, kind of the existing Gen AI stack, to accelerate your own development of an alternative to traditional GPUs?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. It's really interesting as we start clicking into like the tools for designing hardware. They're still pretty far behind. Automation of digital logic has been done to some degree as almost like coding tools, but on the analog side, this is still relatively new. And we are seeing now companies that are saying, "Hey, I can explore the design space of different circuit architectures for you using AI." And we said, "Great, we want to either work with them or buy them." I don't know, whatever it is, whatever makes sense for us. But yeah, we are trying everything to use the latest techniques to accelerate our exploration of the space. That's the way we're looking at this: is how fast can I iterate? How fast can I find working solutions? That's our main goal right now.
Makes sense. What have you learned from racing that you've applied to company building? And what have you learned from company building that you apply to racing?
Oh boy. I think racing, when you start getting into like truly competitive events, you start to see that every like tenth of a second matters. Like when you're coming into the pit lane, for instance, you have a pit lane speed limiter, right? So I don't think people even know this, but when you come in, you hit this pit lane speed limiter, and when you drop below the pit lane speed limit, you hit the throttle, it pegs it at the speed limit. You basically want to optimize that so you don't even lose a tenth when you come into the pit lane. You basically hit the brakes at a certain point, slow down, and are at this pit lane speed. You don't want to slow down ahead of time and kind of ease your way in.
Yep.
Every tenth of a second matters. And that may be in even a 24-hour race. And I think that's true with a company. Like, don't waste time. Every moment matters. You may make bad decisions. That's okay. Figure out how to back them out. Move as fast as you can. If you hired the wrong person, fix it. And so I think the main thing I learned is that time is your biggest enemy, always.
Love it. Well, we normally ring the gong for $475 million, but we should also ring the gong for 265 points in the Ferrari Challenge.
There you go.
Yes, I'll take it.
They're both massive accomplishments. But we're big fans of the Ferrari Challenge around here, so it's a big deal for us.
Thank you so much.
IMSA is where it's at, really. That's the big stuff.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we
were out in Thermal a couple weeks ago, and it was the first time for both of us on the track, and it was life-changing. It was like a new, okay,
and I'm sure it was just somebody that you probably shared a track with.
This is the hobby.
Here and there.
Awesome.
Anyways, congrats on the announcement and everything, and the whole team. Sounds like an incredible place to go work right now. And, I'm sure I can't wait to have you back on.
And what a murderer's row. You got Andreessen, Lightspeed, Sequoia, Lux, DCVC, Future Ventures, Jeff Bezos, Databricks, and many others. What a fantastic way to kick off a new business.
Very cool.
Congratulations.
Awesome. Thanks
have
so much.
Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
You too.
Goodbye. Let me tell you about Wander.com. Book a Wander with inspiring views, hotel-grade amenities, dreamy beds, top-tier cleaning, and 24/7 concierge service. It's a vacation home, but better, folks.
That's right.
Our next guest is already in the Restream waiting room. We have the founder of Eon. Welcome to the
show.
stream. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
We're very excited as well. We wanted to get you on last week, but we were on the road, and very excited to chat.
So thank you very much.
Introduce yourself. Introduce the company. We'd love to get how you're positioning it, and then I want to go into the funding round and some of the implications of this. But kick it off with a little bit of an introduction for us.
So sounds great. As always, I always start by saying my name is Ophir. I'm married to wonderful Julia and father to Rom, objectively cutest baby ever born.
Wow, that's a great intro. I love it.
These are the important stuff.
Yes,
Less important stuff. I started a few companies before, actually 4 companies to be exact.
Wow.
Most recent one was a company called Cloud & Do, which we sold to Amazon on January of 2019. Grew the business to $1 billion business, doing migration and disaster recovery to the cloud.
Let's give it up for migration and disaster recovery in the cloud. Doesn't get enough
credit. It does not get enough credit. That's right.
I agree. I'm actually I'm this crazy guy who really love data integration, data protection.
Yeah.
We lived this all so long, and both me and my co-founders. And while we were there, we saw an opportunity that we just couldn't resist. All those companies really moving to the cloud, especially around COVID, and later on, and all the incumbents in our space were born on premises. So we decided to start a company in cloud backup.
Yeah.
And we could say, cloud backup, isn't it solved already like in 1981?
Yeah.
Well, we figured out that as companies move to the cloud and become very significant, they have a very big problem actually managing the data, managing the secondary storage. Backups are like tapes. These are companies storing their most precious data for a very long time, and they can't access that. So we started as a backup company. I said, I'm this crazy person starting a non-AI company in an AI world.
Yeah.
But then you know what? It hit me. AI is such a strong, compelling event, which has strong tailwinds that we just had.
I mean, look at the Seagate and Western Digital stocks. They're through the roof this year. It's crazy. And it makes sense because everyone's going to need to store a lot more data. Everyone's creating so much more data.
So much data is created all the time, and you always use data. And I don't know who's going to win the compute wars.
Yeah.
OpenAI, Anthropic, Databricks, Snowflake, any area. What I do know, no matter what's going to happen, data is going to be the enterprise moat.
Yeah.
And we are here to help them unlock this data. We're automating cloud backups. Sounds boring, right?
Yeah.
Making it into useful, accessible assets, as data lakes.
Yeah.
So you can back up all your data in a very seamless, easy way, but then use it,
and you can
for example, to train models. That's all the hype, right?
Yep.
And analytics and BI.
Wait, so no tapes? It's on drives?
No tapes.
Okay,
no
it's on
tapes.
drives.
As it seems, we're software-only solution.
Okay.
Only in the cloud.
Yeah.
Cloud-born. This is what we've been doing.
Yeah. Wait, on a public cloud or on your own cloud? Because I imagine that one of the benefits of backups and one of the key things that people want to buy when they're backing up data is, hey, I'm already tied to AWS. I don't want everything on AWS. I want security in case AWS goes down. I want to back up somewhere else. How are you thinking about that?
Perfect. So, and we've seen quite a few outages in the last few weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we're saying with democratizing your data, it's your data. Whether it's AWS, Azure, and GCP, great clouds or other clouds, we're making sure you can extract the data, make it portable between clouds, making it accessible, performant, browsable, and searchable. You can search and browse all of your data and all of your history immediately. And because we're building our own software stack, software only, it's not going to cost you a dime. It's actually cheaper than building it on your own or using existing cloud technologies to do that. So we're trying to make sure that we make it we give you an easy button as a customer to just enable the use of all of your data, making it accessible to if you want to run Snowflake or Databricks or Redshift or BigQuery or anything that you want on your data. That's great. We are here to make sure that you're enabled to do it on all of the data that you have and all of the data that you had in the past.
But how can you possibly be cheaper than the big hyperscalers, the big public clouds? I imagine that Microsoft, GCP, Azure, AWS, like they're buying so many Seagate drives, so many Western Digital drives. How can you possibly compete on price?
That's an unbelievable question. Actually, I don't want to just win on price. I just want to make it easy for you. So what we're doing, even though we're still in the cloud, using cloud building blocks, object storage, GCS, S3, Azure Blobs, etc. We're building in a very different way and actually building a very more efficient, let's call it, version of cloud snapshots that purposely built for backup and data retrieval.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Take us through the news. What's the funding news? I want to ring the gong for a data storage company.
Thank you very much. And I'm also very excited. So we raised $500 million in total, $300 million just in this round. Really excited, led by Elad Gil, who is not only an amazing investor, he's also an amazing human being. And we got.
What's it like? What's it like being a fly on the wall when you and Elad get together and talk about data?
Well, Elad is simply unbelievable. He's one of the most humble people I've met. And at the same time, brilliant, and so well connected. I don't think I've ever seen an investor that everyone likes so much. And I have the privilege to choose amazing investors. I have Sequoia and Lightspeed and Greenox and Bond Capital and likes of Omri Caspi, who are just amazing investors. And Elad Gil is very unique. Actually, we got preempted by 16 VCs, and I so wanted it to be Elad, really. And when Elad wanted to, I'm going to lead your round, I was in New York. He flew from San Francisco. He came to my office. He basically wouldn't leave until I signed. And to be honest, I really want to do that because I got to know the person, not just the investor. In the last few months and a year, he put a small check in a previous round. And honestly, we just fell in love, not just myself, my other co-founders as well. So
that's incredible.
When we had the chance, we had to do it.
That's
incredible. And really happy, excited about it.
You wrote the book on high growth.
You did.
I know. And definitely. And absolutely. And I'm really thrilled. We have now a lot of capital in a time when we can now plan ahead. We don't need to think about the macro. We don't need to think whether everything's going to continue to be rainbows and unicorns. Do we going to have a downturn soon? Who knows? But we know we can build a strong fundamental business that's going to be here for a very long time.
This is hilarious, but it's a great take. And it's a great way to build your company and your business so that you can take advantage of these tailwinds, but also survive the headwinds. And congratulations to you.
Absolutely.
It's great. This is what we need.
Exactly. We're here for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Forever. Is this your, you want this to be, you've done 4 companies prior to this. Do you want this to be the last one? You just want to
last one.
Yes.
All the way to the IPO and beyond.
Yes.
That's my goal.
Fantastic.
Incredible. You have incredible energy. I'm excited to follow your journey, and you're welcome on the show anytime.
Thank you so much for coming on
Thank you very
the show.
much. I'm really excited. I love your show.
Amazing.
And thank you very much. I'm going to get back and tune to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
We'll talk to
hanging.
you soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Goodbye. That is Worthy and Valuable. We were debating what is Worthy and Valuable. That feels like a company. That's the Worthy and Valuable company of San Francisco.
He's keeping.
That's what you need to do. I don't even.
I'm glad he's keeping all of our data.
But I like
backed up.
Yeah. It
secure.
seems extremely valuable.
He's that guy.
Well, we have Gorkum from Fall in the Restream waiting room with some massive news. He's back on the show. You know him. You love him.
Good to be back.
He makes all of this possible.
Every time you're on, I'm like, he's going to be back on.
He's going to be back on soon.
You guys
How
are
you doing?
on a tear.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. Good to be back in the temple of technology, capital
Yes.
of capital.
Yes.
There was one more. What is the other
The
one?
Fortress of Finance.
Fortress of Finance.
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Give us the news. What happened?
Yeah, today we announced our $140 million Series D. It's led by Sequoia and meaningful participation from Kleiner Perkins and NVIDIA.
It's the Sequoia venture capital firms.
We had an incredible year this year. We have some of the biggest advertisers, retail platforms, design and productivity apps, and movie studios generating images and videos on the platform. And we 8x our revenue in the whole year. So
8x?
This is our third fundraise of the year. We announced our Series B earlier this year in the beginning. And then
you got one more? You going for the 4, Pete? 1 1/4? Come on. We got
2 weeks. You got 2 weeks.
It's remarkable. Couple weeks.
What's been the biggest driver of revenue growth? Has it been uptime? Being a one-stop shop. Like what messaging has really resonated the most and driven the most growth for you this year?
Yeah. So beginning of this year, we thought we were gonna ride the AI video wave for the whole year. That was accurate. It was an incredible year for AI video. Yeah. But what was surprising to us is actually rise of image editing. Like image models existed a couple years ago. Like that's how we started our business. But image editing, one of the first good models came out around May. And now it's a bigger part of our business than AI video. That was surprising to us. So we thought we were going to ride a big wave, but another even bigger wave, collided with it. And our
is that surprising? Because, I mean, when you think if it's very commonplace now to like one shot a great image output, and it's so much harder to one shot or even get a great video output. You can get a decent video output. So I feel like it makes sense. Everybody's making images all the time. It's like it's like when you think about in the workplace, there's just so many different use cases, even for consumers. So I think it makes sense, and it really is just exciting because as the image models feel like they're so good now. Everybody's so used to seeing it and getting kind of like faked out by an image now because you can't tell the difference. Video, you can still usually tell, but it feels like maybe in a year from now it'll be the same situation where it's like I just don't know what's real. I don't know what's fake. It's all confusing.
100%. Video models are still very hard to work with. Still, some really talented AI creative people create great content with it, but it hasn't really reached mainstream. I would say it takes even more effort to create an ad with a video if it's like high quality than actually shooting it yourself. But what happened with image models is gonna happen with video, and the user experience of video models are gonna get much better, and you'll have even more mainstream adoption of these models. I'm pretty sure of this, and that's what makes me really excited because we went so far. It's a lot of image models, a lot of image editing, just a glimpse of video models, and this is all gonna get better and better, and it's gonna reach complete mainstream. All the studios, all the retailers are gonna make use of this technology.
Sorry.
Yeah, just what are you seeing? Like, how are you thinking about 2026 from a model progress standpoint? Nano Banana was obviously massive leap. I'm expecting we'll see even more activity in 2026, but I'm sure you have somewhat of a preview just given your guys' position in the market.
Yeah, exactly. So usually one of the frontier labs pushes the boundaries. In this case, it was Nana Banana twice this year. It was like their first release, and now this very recent Nana Banana Pro release. But very quickly, either the open source community or labs from China, people catch up. There are a couple reasons for it, to be honest. Once they see there's demand for it, once people know exactly what to build for, it's usually easier for them to get motivated and catch up. But also some of the tricks, some of the research tricks leak, and people use them and train these models. The model market for generative media is a lot more fragmented than LLMs. There's so much choice. There's so many models that are different and that are better at different things that the best model keeps changing. Even Nana Banana was dethroned a couple times throughout the year. Right now, it's considered the best image editing model, but I don't know how long that's going to last.
What are you excited for in terms of capabilities for next year? Do you have specific like benchmarks that you're tracking, or even like functionality? Like I've noticed I have one that's the Where's Waldo test, where I will ask it to generate a full Where's Waldo. And even Nano Banana Pro still can't quite do it. It'll either put Waldo right at the center, or it'll make two Waldos. And those images in the children's book are really complicated. It's not just a portrait, and there's maybe not enough training data on the internet. But that's one test that I've been tracking. Do you have your own internal benchmark, or that whatever you think is like next, the thing it can't do right now?
Yeah, I have some of my favorite prompts that I try with every single model. But I rely on our team. We have great creative people in the team. They spend all their living hours working on these models. They are the usually ones coming up with very, very creative ways to utilize. Yeah. One thing that changed with Nana Banana is you can actually feel the model has more world knowledge than other models, and that opens up other doors. I don't know, have you seen people are now adding some web search and creating like newspaper articles on the fly, things like that. That are very creative uses of these models. And on the video side, people really want more controllability. They want character consistency. They want scene-to-scene consistency. And some of the releases that happened recently, Kling, for example, is one of the better video models out there. Yeah. They've announced some editing capabilities, which are pretty remarkable. And all of that is going to get easier to use. Yeah. And once people have more consistency with the scenes they're creating with video models, I think that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I always see those videos of it's the Lil Yachty walkout that is character swapping. And it's always really obvious what's going on. It's rough around the edges, but it's still hilarious because it's a great meme. And I definitely would predict 2026 is the year that Little Yachty walkout just looks 100% real.
100%.
Which is going to be awesome.
Next fundraise announcement.
I can't wait. Yeah. We need to do that for you. We need to get your body scanned a little bit. Get us a couple of photos.
We've never asked this question, but you might know the answer. Do you know why it's called Nano Banana Pro? Where do you have any idea what the origin is of the name?
So they had a code name, Nana Banana. Usually when they put these models into the benchmarking websites, they usually add a code name. Like there were Blueberry was one code name, Red Panda was another, and this was Nana Banana, and people recognized the model like that, and they kept it. That's the story I know. I don't know if there's another version of the story.
But I guess the other question is obviously it is a code name, but where'd the code name come from? Google has a long history of using fruit, although so does OpenAI with strawberry. But all the Android iterations were like ice creams and desserts for a long time. But the question is what's the Nano doing there? Because I want the full banana. Give me the nano banana. Give me the giga banana. I want the giga banana, the biggest exa banana, the mega banana. I want the biggest banana model. Don't give me the shrunken down nano one. I want the giga banana.
Yeah, sure. I think it's using the smaller Gemini model as the LLM
as the
part.
reasoning.
That's why it's nano. But
it makes sense. It's funny. It's funny to have fun with. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the show. Congratulations on the massive news, and thank you for supporting us all year long.
And you gotta, if you 8x again next year, you gotta 8x the number of fundraisers too. So that put you at like two fundraisers a month, 24 for 2026. We'll see.
That'd be great.
But congratulations to the whole team, and we're very excited for you guys.
Have a good one.
Great to see you. Cheers.
Goodbye. Well, we have our next guest already in the Restream waiting room. We have Pedro from Brax, the founder and CEO of Brax, announcing a massive partnership. We're very excited to welcome him to the TBPN Ultradome.
Welcome to the show.
To see you, Pedro. How are you doing? How's your day? Merry Christmas.
I'm great. How are you guys? Thanks for having us.
We're
Fantastic.
great. We're in the Christmas spirit.
We are in the Christmas spirit.
We got bells. Very holiday themed. Holiday themed shows for the rest of the year.
Yes.
But it's great to meet.
And great to have you on the show. Yeah, please take us through the news today. Oddly, I'm actually a Fifth Third customer, so I want to know how this applies to me.
Yeah, you get a Brax cartoon. No, maybe. So in all seriousness, thanks for having me.
Of course.
So today we're announcing a pretty big partnership between Brax and Fifth Third Bank. It's a $5.6 billion commercial card partnerships where effectively, wow.
Massive.
So good.
I heard a big number. I had to.
I won one of that at my office.
Fantastic.
And we're really excited just because, when you look into across all the U.S. and we just see, tens of thousands of businesses out there that are still 98% of businesses are still using legacy corporate cards. And, there's so much opportunity in just automating how these teams run their finances. And Fifth Third just has this massive distribution and trust. And of course, Brax has the financial services and the software and the AI that just helps these businesses automate so much of their manual work and better allocate capital. And the really exciting part is,
yes, sorry to interrupt. I'm curious when you guys started working on embedded products, because if you go back to 2021 and 2022, I'm sure there was a bunch of companies that, or at least a few that got created to go and pitch some of these same banks and say, hey, you're corporate. I don't know if people remember, anybody that remembers SVB, like corporate cards back in the day.
I had a few of those.
Their UI was truly insane. It was like, how is this? And
you had like a different login too. It was crazy.
Yeah. It was truly the most heinous product experience of all time.
And it was like, this is Silicon Valley Bank. We're supposed to be the tech. Not to talk.
But yeah,
to beat a dead horse there.
Yeah,
kind of
at some point you said like, hey, we'll go compete here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for us, it's really been driven by a lot of just customer demand. So we started this with Navan and Zip, where they really saw a lot of the value in bringing financial services and card workflows into their software.
Sure.
And we're really excited about it because it's just a 1 + 1 = 5 situation. Both products become better together.
Yeah.
And then as we thought about the rest of the U.S. and there's 8% of businesses are now accessible through this partnership, for example, in the U.S., which is a really exciting thing in the commercial space. And the really big thing is, how do we make the bank's product materially better? And when you bring the technology and what we've done on the card side, and especially the financial infrastructure that we built from scratch, like we don't run on Stripe Issuing or Marqeta, we just build our own rails from the ground up that enables that partnership to actually take place. So
how does it actually work? Is it fully white labeled, or does somebody in First Third get kicked out?
No. It's actually a fully Brax branded card, and the reason is because Fifth Third wants to have someone that's actually responsible for delivering this great customer experience on the card and implementing the software and rolling that out to their customers. And what they do really well is the banking side, right? Is the lending side, is the banking, is the relationships, and the thousands of branches and just the thousands of distribution partners that they have on their side, and the tens of thousands of customers they serve are all effectively relying on that and already have that relationship. And now they get a Brex card, which we're really excited.
Yeah. Sorry, you mentioned you're not using Stripe for what was it?
Issuing.
Does Stripe or are there other fintechs that do play a role in like your supply chain, or are you like down at like the ACH layer? Like just what's kind of going on under the hood?
Yeah. So what we've done since 2018 on Brex is we actually build our own financial infrastructure from scratch.
Okay.
So we actually went straight to the metal on MasterCard and built everything from the ground up. And because we vertically integrated the whole thing, this created this pretty big advantage on everything that requires like bare metal capabilities on financial services. So for example, global, right? We operate in over 200 countries today with local cards, local issuance, because for us, it's just a matter of saying, hey, MasterCard, we're going to issue in Europe or Brazil or India or Mexico, and it's just flipping a switch for them because we are our own issuer, right? We run our own stack. And then Fifth Third was another example where we said Fifth Third wanted to issue a Fifth Third issued card. They wanted to be their name on the card. It has to be under their license on MasterCard and all of that. And for us, it's just effectively, bringing in a new bank live, which, we have a few banks on the back end, and including Fifth Third, of course. So for us, it was sort of piggybacking on this advantage that we've had over many years by building our own rails from the ground up, which is really exciting.
How are you thinking about? We've had a bunch of different teams and companies on the show building like new layer 1 blockchains for payments. They're touting like speed, default global, all these things. We've had a bunch of stablecoin issuers and business. I'm sure in conversations that you have, you're being pitched these companies from to be an infrastructure provider. I'm sure your investors are like maybe asking you sometimes, should there be a Brex stablecoin? Who knows, right? I'm sure these questions are coming up. How do you think about kind of the layer 1 landscape, and you're operating a global business today? And so I would, your opinion on some of this stuff in terms of the real value of it, I feel like would carry a lot of weight.
Yeah. So the way we think about it is maybe a little bit different, which is we think that first, like stablecoins and blockchain in general have a tremendous application, and we're really excited about a lot of the work there. We announced support for stablecoins this year when it comes to our banking product, and you can pay the card to stablecoins. We've done a lot of that. But when it comes to global, right, and just supporting customers in a wide variety of countries, really the challenge there is the on-ramp and off-ramp, right? And specifically, the fiat last layer for an employee to reimburse you in Indian rupees or Brazilian reais, and then for you to settle the card in that currency and do all that locally. And unfortunately, stables don't help you that much on that last layer. And the whole, actually, a misconception about the way our global product works is a lot of the value comes from remaining in local currency, because what they're trying to do is minimize FX, right? Even on stables, like FX has a cost just intrinsic to it. And a lot of what we're trying to do is keep you entirely in reais. So your revenue in reais in Brazil are settling your expenses in reais or in euros or in GBP or whatever currency you're in. So a lot of the infrastructure we build is to enable this multi-currency and multi-entity operations versus having to do the FX and a lot of the benefits that stables typically bring to the table. So our use case is a little bit different.
I'm sure that's disappointing to people building global payments L1s. They're like, wait, you're supposed to need this.
I mean, we do use it internally for some stuff, but I would say the value prop for our customers is we stay in local currency as much as possible, because it just minimizes so much savings on FX.
What are the other keys to success? Obviously, you have experience internationally, but you're like a YC company. I think of Brex very much as like an American company. But then, in terms of winning internationally, what does it take? What have the lessons been? What are the interesting insights, or what were some surprises that cropped up on the journey?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest one is that when you go into like true global, like true enterprise, the amount of requirements, and specifically on both the card and expense management side, is unbelievable. So you have these rules, for example, local per diems. So when you're in Europe, there's these rules that if you have a German employee traveling to London, is one set of rules. If you have a London employee traveling to Germany, completely different set of rules. And then if they rent a car, there's different mileage requirements. And then all this information, something you have to be aware of. And of course, we use a lot of the car data to make that easier and reconcile it automatically. But probably the biggest challenge overall is just building the core financial infrastructure, because this is something that, we're literally the only issuer in the US that actually had done this from scratch. And just the amount of time and energy that we dedicated into building these, core financial services infrastructure is pretty tremendous. But, it gave us a pretty big advantage when it comes to these enterprise customers. And, today we have, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I think we had 5 or maybe 10 public companies on Brex, and now we have 250 and growing. So that's a really exciting thing to compound.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congrats to the whole team on the deal. Congrats to Art.
Yes.
And
love Art.
Chief Business Officer, correct?
CBO. He was coming in to defend Keith Raboy last week. Was talking some smack about the BD people of the world.
Does OpenAI have a chief business officer? Because they just got a CRO. They have a CFO and they have 2 CEOs. I think they're missing a CBO.
It's an underrated title.
You better lock down Art. He's going to get poached.
Art is taken. Don't listen to that.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Congrats to the whole team. And great to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We'll see you soon. Have a good one. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
The ho really gets me every time. I've been thoroughly enjoying it. I love that. I love the idea of country specific per diems, because if I had a German employee, I would want them to know that they are not an American employee and they are second class citizen in this organization, and they will not be dining out on the company dime at a nice 5-star restaurant.
At least in US dollars.
They will be eating sauerkraut in the gutter for $5. No.
That's brutal. The most American, John Coogan. Everyone.
Yes. Speaking of travel to international countries, if you go to Saudi Arabia, you can now booze it up. I guess you can drink alcohol. Saudi Arabia is loosening alcohol rules, letting non-Muslim foreign residents earning over $13,000. You can buy alcohol. So you have to check. You have to do a whole checklist.
Daniel's line is great. He says, "This is such a galaxy-brained idea. It could only come from a mind totally disconnected from normal material reality."
It's hilarious.
It is interesting.
Imagine being like,
hey, if you want to do, drugs, if you want to consume alcohol, that's fine, but you have to be putting up numbers.
Yes, exactly.
You got to be putting up numbers,
exactly.
Right?
And so, I think if you're underage,
potentially cannabis should be like $10 million a year on your W-2.
I was about to say, but you know what happens then? So you have everyone in America, you turn 17, 18, 19, you're not 21 yet, you get a fake ID to try and buy some booze, you're going to need a fake W-2 as well. You're going to need to fake your income statement. And you're going to need to do all these crazy things where you have all these like circular deals.
Bringing your fake W-2 to the corner liquor store, just being, and then just like looking through every line.
In Saudi Arabia. So you're in Saudi Arabia, and let's say you're making $1,000 a year USD, or you're making 10,000 reals, you need to go and set up a circular contract where you're a 17-year-old, somebody else is 17. I pay you 10,000, you pay me 10,000, and then we
do
get
that a couple of times.
Exactly, we do that a couple of times. Then we're earning enough to go buy alcohol. We can go get drunk together.
That is crazy.
That is truly crazy. Galaxy brained.
Yeah.
We're out galaxy braining them. We're gonna galaxy brain all the way to the top. We do have to hop on with Riyadh soon. Let's close out with anything else that's on the timeline. Jordy, why don't you take a pass? Let me know if there's anything that we
Fluid Stack raising apparently $700 million at a $7 billion valuation.
Okay.
Built on Google back leases for new AI data centers, according to Rohan Paul. Fluid Stack, a real player on the semi-analysis. What's it called?
Cluster Max.
So not surprising here. Interesting that potentially you've got Leopold looking to lead the financing. So dipping his toes into privates.
Well, they have Cluster Max over at Semi-Analysis. They have Inference Max. Are they going to do Looks Max?
Potentially.
They could.
It looks like, looking at some of our officials, it looks like we might be developing a strategic Looks Maxing reserve.
I mean, there are lots of people that would comment on Looks Maxing and try and rank like the hottest men in tech. I personally would only regard Semi-Analysis' opinion as credible on that issue specifically. It must come from them.
Post here from Buko. He says, Hock Tan acquired VMware, had coffee chats with the employees where he made fun of them, and fired half the business. So a little excerpt here. Earlier last year, Broadcom CEO Hock Tan decided to host what he likes to call a coffee chat with employees of VMware, the software giant that Broadcom CEO had recently purchased for $84 billion. The company-wide meeting was Tan's effort to introduce himself and answer questions from those employees about life at the semiconductor firm.
Crazy.
At the time, VMware's Palo Alto campus sprawled over 18 buildings and 100 acres of delicately pruned gardens, an outdoor amphitheater, and a turtle pond. Employees enjoyed nice HR perks, including childcare, marital counseling, and an annual $1,000 well-being allowance for anything from dumbbells to Xboxes.
$1,000 in Xboxes? That's like one Xbox every 3 months. That's so many Xboxes.
You can actually only spend this on Xboxes. When Tan opened the discussion up to questions, a VMware employee asked if Broadcom provided such benefits. Tan seemed surprised. Why would I do any of this? I'm not your dad, he replied, according to 3 people in attendance.
We need a trading card. Okay, I'm not your dad.
Over the next few months, Tan fired about half of VMware's 38,000 employees. That is wild. He also stripped down the campus, selling all but 5 of the buildings. At the remaining offices, Tan had the espresso machines removed.
Okay, well, that is a question because they need to stay caffeinated.
I gotta hold the line here.
What are they doing? I mean, I'm okay removing espresso machines.
Do you think they're doing white monsters instead?
If they're doing white monsters, then I approve of it. But if you're going to have a decaffeinated workforce, that just makes no sense. That's just not elite performance.
He says, the article says, somewhat against the odds, the turtles were allowed to stay. So, do you think he's putting espresso in the turtle pond?
No, I imagine he had like a massive broadsword and was above the turtle, ready to let it all
They're
go.
Like, Hawk,
and
no.
just like, oh, I can't do it. And he drops the blade and it falls to the ground, clanks him, and he says, "Oh, you live to fight another day, turtle. You're too important here."
He's got him making TPUs.
Completely different vibe from when Pat Gelsinger was getting a VMware tattoo on his arm, or a temporary tattoo at least, showing his love for the company that he just bought while he was at Intel. Hock Tan, clearly cut from a different cloth, but clearly also putting up big numbers. Broadcom's been on an absolute run.
Alexis Ohanian says, been warning y'all, AI everywhere, dead internet. Real is increasingly scarce online and thus increasingly valuable. There's a Wired article called AI Slop is ruining Reddit for everyone. This has always been, there's such an incentive for companies and people to just like create narratives on Reddit because AI is training on Reddit.
Yep.
And the natural end state is, it's 99.9% bots and just a handful of humans. So stick to the group chats, I guess.
Yeah. In other news, Netflix has launched Best Guess Live, a new Netflix mobile game show where guessing the right answer based on 5 clues could win you thousands. Dylan Abruscato on our
thousands
team,
in this economy? Come on.
Not
Let's get those. They're willing to spend $80 billion to get
Warner Brothers.
$40 billion per Warner Brothers.
They should give you some IP. You should be able to win Porky Pig. I get Foghorn Leghorn.
Or some of the masculine films.
I want the Steven Seagal rights. I want the rights to Hard to Kill, for sure. Dylan Abruscato on our team says, can I copy your homework? Yeah, just change it up a bit so it doesn't look obvious. You copied, of course. He worked at a competitor to this or the precursor to this.
He created game shows.
He created game shows with HQ Trivia, which you should know.
Rune says, a lot of people think CEOs are on coke or stimulants because of how hyper they look in interviews, but I think the unfortunate truth is that natural amount of energy is extremely unequally distributed.
I was going back and forth on this one. Obviously, it's a subtweet of Carp, but I think he's just like that. I think he's just high energy. And I think that so the Carp clip looks crazy as a single clip, but I actually watched the full interview, and there is a flip on it which is maybe more negative, which is like that was a question he was squirming on. Like that was an uncomfortable question. And I notice it on this show all the time. If we ask someone a question and they're like not that happy that we asked that question, you'll see on their body language they'll cross their arms. And crossed arms is like a well-established body language for like I'm closing myself off. versus like if I'm hanging out here with you, I'm just having a good time.
If I'm sitting up and
and so there's a world where you're literally, they call it being in the hot seat.
Camera. They just needed a better camera tracking. So
they call it being in the hot seat. And when you're in the hot seat, you're kind of bouncing around. And yes, it can look like you're on a lot of stimulants. Maybe you're on some caffeine. Maybe you're a little wired. But also, maybe you're dealing with a serious interviewer, Sorkin, across from you on a stage. There's nothing to help you at DealBook. Like the crazy thing is you keep seeing people's legs all funny, and it's like because you're just in a chair, there's no desk there, so there's nothing covering you up. So it's like you're very vulnerable. There's this big wall.
Has somebody done like
everyone's looking at you, and also it's not just a private conversation where it's like you and Sorkin are just hanging out here having a normal conversation. Like there's a couple people, all of our friends are here, right? Imagine it's like all of your rivals are in all of your rivals.
And all your haters are watching.
All your haters are watching online, and all your rivals are in the building, in the seats right there, looking at you, answer tough questions. I don't know. It just feels like this is not that crazy of a reaction for a high energy guy who's kind of quirky, who's in that position and is answering some tough questions. I don't know. But
Tyler, figure out how to use AI to run an analysis on every guest we've ever had to see and just rank their body language from most trustworthy to least trustworthy.
Yeah. I did like Gabriel here. He says, he's quote tweeting someone who's like, there is zero chance that these hyper animated CEOs are just naturally that way. Kind of the counter to what I was just laying out as an argument. And Gabe says, cocaine expert here. These CEOs do a lot of cocaine. Feels like a very 2025 moment somehow. And I agree with that. It is a very weird thing. Well, in less weird headlines, we have some fantastic news from Lulu, who has raised a $40 million.
Give me the mallet. Give me the mallet. All right, now you go for it. Too late.
Congratulations to Lulu.
This photo goes hard.
It's a good photo. It's proper paparazzi. She got caught by the Paps. The Paps got her. This is a throwback photo from when she was working on the Microsoft Blizzard deal. I mean, the fact that she's a board member at Activision is just crazy at the time. $80 billion company. You know, people talk about Lulu like she's some small-time PR advisor for startups, but it's like she is on the board of a $80 billion company.
She also intentionally flies under the radar.
Yeah, well, we're blowing up here now. Sorry. Sorry about it. Anyway, at least it's at the end of the show.
Lisan Al-Gaib says, the normies are waking up on TikTok. They're saying ChatGPT is washed. John says Perplexity is goated. Hard to say.
Claude is
they're ranking them.
They're all over the place. Claude, greater than Gemini, greater
Never
than
be washed. You don't want to be cooked either.
Yes, we've learned
chopped.
this.
Don't be washed, cooked, or chopped.
From our...
If you're a language model that wants Gen Z adoption.
From our Gen Z employee who is currently both chopped and cooked. He's not here. We hope he gets, not you, the one who's sick, who we hope gets better soon. But we didn't learn any lingo from you, Tyler.
Buko says, what people get wrong, OpenAI's code red is bullish, not bearish. It's an admission they were overeating, getting beat, and needed to focus. That's what great teams do. Now, here's the challenge. Code reds are really hard. It's easy to say yes, hard to say not right now. All eyes on how they execute code red. I'm skeptical. Overeating seems to be embedded in the culture. Sam obviously likes to dabble in a lot of things.
Every code red is followed by a Baja Blast.
That's right.
Let's get ready.
I think the next model should be
Baja Blast.
Baja Blast.
Go back to the crazy names that make no sense. Stop it with the 5.2 tomorrow. Wait, wasn't 5.2 just supposed to come out today?
That was, if you looked at Polymarket, that's what it looked like. Yeah. It's now moved to, I think, by December 13th. It's like 90%. So.
Yeah. Anyway.
But also, this is a separate topic, but I need to put you in the truth zone. There actually are spots on the moon that are perpetually in sunlight.
Oh, really?
You
figured it out?
The rims of certain craters.
Oh.
The inside of them are always in darkness. The rims are
The rim on the crater is always in the sun.
Yeah. So that's where we need the data center.
Okay. Well, how much crater rim is there? Is there enough crater rim to actually build a lot of data centers?
If there's not, you could probably nuke the moon,
make more craters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I still have trouble visualizing this. Doing like the celestial body physics math in your head is very, very difficult.
In other news, this person on X, Keanu, Nazari says they got their hands on some North Korean cigarettes.
They did?
They got them in a DPRK state-owned restaurant from a waitress who was from Pyongyang. Basically impossible to find any background info on them online. They taste and look 100%. What is that? Zhoosh?
I have no idea.
But I like the packaging. The packaging goes pretty hard. It feels very...
But I can't support it because I don't support North Korea.
And this is a good place to end the show. Sag Harbor Capital says, if this niche Scandinavian brand doesn't ship my overcoat in the next 24 hours, I'm going to blow up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline.
That's really funny.
He tags the brand, too.
Wait, he does? Where?
Yeah.
Wait, Bergen.
I need an overcoat. I was trying to just go around New York last week with just my suit, and I was kind of cocky going into it. I was like, "Oh, John, nice coat. We're going to be outside for the
2
total
seconds.
Of 20 seconds."
Yeah, you're like,
and then we
in
went
succession, Kendall Roy doesn't need a coat because he's so rich. He's always inside.
I didn't say that.
I think Dylan said that.
Dylan said that.
But I was like, yeah, like we're not that rich yet. Whatever's going on in Succession.
We went for a half-mile
that.
walk, and I was devastated.
We did. But it's nice when you're in a coat. It's fun to walk around New York City. Also, it wasn't that cold, but you were getting destroyed.
We got to pull up last post of the day. Skook says, the concept of getting sent to rehab by the Taliban because you and your cousins wanted to LARP as the Peaky Blinders in Afghanistan. And
what happened?
Down here that says reportedly 4 people in the Herat province were detained and sent to rehab by the Taliban's Virtue Ministry for imitating characters from British crime series Peaky Blinders and parading around the city resembling the vintage gangsters, an act seen as violating local values.
It seems I have no idea how to process if this is real at all.
Hope says rare
what is
Taliban L.
This is crazy.
I mean, they look fantastic.
They do look fantastic.
I feel like this would encourage. Potentially, they could open up a tourism market for people, kind of like the Disneyland for Peaky Blinders enthusiasts.
It's such a weird phenomenon to happen here. Also, like, what does being sent to rehab look like in Afghanistan? They're just like
no more Peaky.
Is it like Alcoholics Anonymous? You're like, first step, I am powerless to Peaky Blinders. I'm a Peaky Blinders impersonator. You have to come, Alcoholics Anonymous. You have to say, I'm an alcoholic. I'm a Peaky Blinders impersonator, and I am powerless. You need to say the Lord's Prayer, something like that.
Anyways, thank you for being with us today, folks. We love you dearly, and we will see you tomorrow. We hope you have a fantastic evening.
Goodbye.